Hey everybody, Roar the Lions UK. I'm Matthew Turner. He's Ashley Soden. We were planning to start this Lions 49ers review right now. However, there is the small matter of the college football playoff quarterfinals happening at the moment, and it's in overtime for Ryan McCluskey's team, the Arizona State. I don't know what their
Sun
moniker is. Sun
Devils.
Devils. Thank you very much. So they are in the first overtime at the moment, and so me and Ash are just going to very briefly watch this. And if you guys are watching, then great. If not, we're just here to chat along. So come say hi. If you've got any questions for the show, please get them in. Hope you enjoyed the game. Happy New Year, everybody, as well. I hope you had some
hmm
good festivities. Ash, how are you doing, mate?
I'm doing good, doing good. Obviously, you've just did a 8 hour shift at work, but it's worth it to come home into an absolute banger like this and to discuss an absolute banger of a game like the one that we got to watch together on Monday.
It was an absolute cracker. The Lions really came to play, especially in that second half on defense.
Yeah, 100%. Shit.
Yeah, Arizona State get a formation penalty, so they're going to be first and 15 at the 20. It's not ideal. Never mind. So we will be talking San Francisco game. Our preview game for the winner take all Vikings game on Sunday Night Football will be Friday night.
I could do Friday night, yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll have to talk with Ant to see if he's free too. But there we go. Happy New Year to you as well, Mile Marker. Hope you celebrated it with aplomb. What did he get up to? Oh,
Big.
get out! Get out! Oh, no.
Ah.
Ooh. Oh, Scataboo's hurt.
So, yeah.
Shit. I think he just needs help up because he's just knackered.
Yeah. I know we don't.
Oh.
Oh,
Hmm?
yeah. I know we don't need him, but Scatterbo in this game, from what I've seen and heard, has been showing Detroit Lion potential.
Gritty player, for
Yeah.
sure. Um,
Plus, he could do the trick plays.
yeah, massively underthrown ball that
Yeah.
his receiver came back to, but, it was pretty fun. Oh, man, you can't afford him to be out of this game even for a rep, though.
hmm
I'd be, oh, the Arizona State have been charged a timeout because of an injury, which I'm guessing is that one. I don't know. Oh, this is not going well. In the red zone, Texas's defense has been amazing, but the play calling by Arizona State has been terrible. Arizona
hmm
State should have won this game by 2 scores.
I've heard that ever since the punt return touchdown, Arizona State's been the better team by far.
I don't know how many more yards of offense they have, but I think it might be like more than 150 now.
I just had it up. Give me a sec. Because I had the ESPN up. Because I didn't know it was on Sky until you quite happily told me. They have had 144.
Go on, Levitt. Go on,
And
Levitt. Go on. Yes.
yes,
What a run. Fuck yes.
oh,
Come on.
while we react to that, I have some breaking news for you.
Okay.
It is time to say goodbye to the man that is Jamal Adams. He has been released from the practice squad.
Excellent. Good. So time of possession in this game has been 38 minutes to ASU, 22 to Texas. What? What is it? Scalaboo!
There we go. Now I can. There we go. Sorry, that's because I'm on my phone getting the news of that, and it just comes up, and I'm like, right, I'm just gonna have to sit here and shut the fuck up.
They're going for one. Don't go for one. Don't go for one. Texas will just go for two. How did he break the tackles? He rode on the wave of his own player. There's the offensive lineman just hauling him over.
Yeah, suplexed him in. I've literally just texted my manager, your bet's done, carried into the end zone via suplex.
And the PAT is good. Oh man, Texas on the brink.
Come on.
Yeah, so they have 174 yards of offense more.
And my manager said, okay, with that bet over, he hopes ASU wins. I've converted him.
Frank says, what up, Ash? What up, Matt? Listen, I don't know what you guys are doing right now, but Detroit Lions fans, Matthew, you're an athlete. This is what every athlete wants in their careers, that play again. It's going off, yeah. So it's in overtime in the college football playoff semifinals. Arizona State against Texas. Texas were up by 16 with 10 minutes to play. Arizona State scored 2 touchdowns with 2 two-point conversions and have now scored a touchdown to start overtime and are 7 points ahead. You was on the pass. Oh! I thought it was going to be picked.
Same.
Oh! So, Ryan McCluskey, who does the college football show on our show here, is an Arizona State fan. And, well, his football team doesn't give him much to smile about. So if they can if they can knock off Texas, I mean, I don't know much about Arizona State history, but it's got to be up there with the best wins the program's ever had.
Yeah, pretty as far as I know as well.
Get there.
Yes! Sit down, boy.
3rd and 10.
I was going to say, I'm there. I'm there. I'm here for the Arizona State stuff as well, because obviously their head coach is the former OC of FSU, Kenny Dillingham. So yeah, because he was with us the first year of where we're getting better. Went to Oregon with their head coach Dan Lanning. No, whoever Oregon's head coach is, whose name I forget, and I'm really bad. And then he became ASU's head coach.
Got to get this off. 4 seconds. Does get it off. Blitz. Checks down. 4th down and 8.
Come on.
Frank says, actually, you know how good this team is, Detroit Lions. I think he's aware of it by now.
This is entering my 10th. Actually, no, I've had a decade of supporting them now. Because I started supporting in 2014, which was real. But come on, right, my phone's overturned, by the way, so I can't see anything.
Okay. All right, guys in the chat who are waiting for the Lions 49ers chat to commence, we're going to get on with that as soon as this game has finished. It's 4th and 8, so this could be the final play. Must have it. And...
Lone dead.
Full start.
Come on. Dare I say it? I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to say it. If ASU pull this out, when I get paid next week, I'm buying an ASU hat. And everyone knows how much I love my hats. Got to hide the shit hair somehow.
Oh, are they bringing it? Are they bringing everything here? Cover 0.
Fuck! Right, I've cursed it.
They're going for 1.
Sark scared.
Oh, man. For goodness sake, what a game. What a game. Frank, don't bet good money on the Lions in this game. I'm not saying that the bet is bad. I'm saying your money is better being your money than their money.
Yeah.
PAT to stay alive is good. Oh, 31-31, double overtime.
Jesus. Just checking with the other game. Because I know the Rose Bowl's kicked off as well, hasn't it?
I don't know, but I guess so. And 10
Not
minutes ago.
just yet. Not up just yet. I think actually delaying the kickoff till this is finished.
That makes sense.
But I've got that up anyway, so the game cast up so we can keep an eye on that in a bit.
Oh,
As it goes to break for us, fucking hell,
yeah.
man. Oh. Christ alive.
Just pinning that message there. I don't think our chat on the 49ers game will be particularly long. Go through the game. There's not a huge amount of news. Talk about the rest of the results this week, which, I mean, we already talked about.
Yeah.
Packers Vikings. Although, actually, I was talking to Ant, and he was saying about like when we're doing review shows and alluding to the fact that we've already talked about stuff. It's like, yeah, but not on the podcast. We haven't. So just don't bother saying we've talked about this before because, well, we haven't. Which makes a lot of sense, really.
Mm-hmm.
Ant just said, "Why did they send a blitz on 4th and 15? They've done so well to get them into 4th and 15 in the first place."
They should have done what we do on those kind of situations where we only send. Well, actually, we don't anymore because we don't have a Liam because he was the guy who usually send down the middle for that. But remember when it was like those kind of situations, we'd send 3 and just drop 8 into coverage.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And so they got to go for 2 now.
Mm-hmm.
Bloody hell. So Texas have now scored a touchdown on the first play of the second overtime. What a play.
Wow.
Hi, Bill. We don't have video of the game. We can never show videos of the game without committing copyright infringement. So we want to remain. Oh, 2-point conversion's good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to break down film. We will do that potentially for college prospects when we come down to the NFL draft stuff. We need to decide how we're going to do that. Potentially, we may demonetize our college review tape work, and then we won't be committing copyright infringement because we don't stand to financially gain from it. Potentially, we're thinking about what to do in that regard. What a throw by Ewers. It's going to be interesting to see what he does, whether he declares or whether he goes into the portal.
Well, if you believe the reports, he's got offered a lot of money to enter the portal.
Yes. Oh, right, Arizona State, come on. So Arizona State are just picking this up now, down 8. Play action. Levitt checking it down to Scatterbo. Cuts inside. Gets 13?
$240 total yards for him. Jesus.
Yeah, he's been insane. Oh, should have gone right. Oh, if he'd come back to the right after the RPO. I know that wasn't where his read was, but they'd got separation. Oregon, Ohio State has started.
Touchdown, Ohio State.
Oh, wow. In the first minute?
No, it's about, well, actually, yeah, I think so.
Oh. Yeah, first minute of the
Yeah, pass.
game.
Jeremiah Smith, 45-yard receiving touchdown.
Yikes.
Of all. Sugar.
Texas interception and they advance. That
Andrew McCuba,
sucks. Big
the
areas.
former Clemson.
Then the Rose Bowl right after. It's a good football day, says Big Areas. Do you think 12 is the right number, and should the seeding determine the games in the second set of games? What's the point of seeding if it doesn't have an impact all the way through, in my opinion? And I like the idea of 12 with 4 buys for the 4 division winners. That are conference winners. That makes sense to me.
Powerful, yeah.
I like the idea of 12. I mean, how far do you want to expand it? Does 10 make more sense? And you have 2 buys, but then you get some conference winners who don't get buys, and then there's going to be, which conference is going to get the buy? Well, I guess it's going to be the SEC and the Big Ten. Yeah. Like, it's easier just to say if you're in a Power 4 conference and you win a Power 4 conference, you get a bye to the quarterfinals. That makes sense. And you know what? It very much looks like the SEC and the Big Ten are better than the Big 12 and the ACC. It just looks that way. But you don't want to demean those conferences by telling them they don't get a bye just because. So Bagheera says seeding being that it's fixed, not dynamic like the NFL. I see what you mean, as in it's not determined from the off, but the lowest available team plays the highest available team as you go through. I honestly don't really care too much. But there we go. I'm just going to message Ant and see if he wants to come on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's before the game. Idiot.
Anyway, everybody, if you guys did some fun stuff during New Year's, would love to hear from you guys about what you got up to. It would be fun to talk about that. I went out with my girlfriend. We went for a 3-hour walk. Then we went to a Japanese restaurant, had several cocktails. Actually, went to a pub before, had cocktails. Went to the Japanese, had cocktails. And then went home and split a bottle of Prosecco. And watched Hootenanny until about midnight before going to bed, which was a good day, although I woke up with a sore head this morning.
Yeah. While I was at work till 9, came home and edited the watch-along stream.
Oh, fair, man. Fair.
Great. Watching me have a just flip out the first Kirby Inception was very funny.
It's just so good.
Mm-hmm.
And having watched it back, I don't think San Francisco did very much in the second half. Mm-hmm. Even like with people thinking our defense was turning to shit, and they were getting a few chunk plays here and there, but it wasn't more than 20 yards down the field in the second half in any one play, I don't think. And then, they were having like just poor plays generally. I actually don't know what the drive summary looks like for it. I'm just having a look now. Second half went touchdown, interception, missed field goal, interception, touchdown. So I guess, or considering there's no punts, I guess that tells its own story. Our defense wasn't great. We know that. But
Yeah.
we scored
Well, one
100.
particular bit. Well, I was about to say one particular bit, but actually I was about to say no, actually 2 bits of it were pretty bad.
We scored 110 more points than Minnesota this year.
Yes.
That's just mental. Absolutely crazy. Frank said, don't have too many rums and cokes, bro. Can't not. I've got 5 bottles of the stuff to drink, so it needs to get done. Jay-Z said, SF tried to fight with grit, but could not do it for full game. Detroit lives it. They were very gritty. And, I mean, between Garendo, Jennings, Kittle, Pearsall, Brock Purdy himself, they were very gritty on offense. And then defense, I mean, you're never going to stop Bosa. And D. Winters was fantastic, despite the head-to-head.
Fred Warner was pretty good as well, because he was playing on a broken ankle.
Really?
Yeah, he's been playing on a broken ankle since like week 6.
Oh, I didn't realise that.
Fred Warner.
And Hufanga, I thought was really good. They had a great day all told.
And the other safety, who I love, whose name is now I'm forgetting because I'm a dum-dum.
Malik Mustafa.
Malik Mustafa. Yeah, Ronaldo with his pass break up in the end zone.
Yeah, he was really good.
Got to pick up my guy. Actually, having a look at the San Francisco grades, so a lot.
Right.
Here's all hot.
I think I'm going to start the stream, and if Ant comes on, he comes on.
Yeah.
All right. I just had Tom here saying the defense really concerned me. We're going to need a lot of luck to win the Super Bowl. Hopefully, all that bad injury luck will turn around. We'll talk about Anzalone in a minute.
Yes.
I found the defense strangely encouraging, and I'll talk about why when we get into it. But I guess my expectations were lower than the result on Monday, which I know seems maybe a bit mad because it wasn't great, but I thought it could be worse. So, and maybe it will be worse on Sunday, but we'll leave that till then. Right, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Royal Alliance UK podcast, episode 319, The Kirby Depoy Stand. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside Ashley Soden. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Obviously, heartbroken for ASU, but obviously just losing in second overtime to Texas as we're recording this. But at the same time, happy that, Sunday night looks to be an absolute banger of a game to cover in a bit.
Is going to be a cracker, and just on the top of the show here, we are going to be previewing that game, I think, on Friday afternoon or early Friday evening Eastern time. So do come and check us out for that one. It's going to be the game of the year in the NFL anywhere, the most on the line that has been on the line for a long time. I think it said that it's the first time that the number 1 seed and division have been on the line since 1993.
1993, 1994, yeah.
Yeah, in a final week game. So it's going to be a very, very big one. There's going to be a lot of national attention on this one. So we're going to cover it Friday afternoon, evening. Hope you can join us for that. Just to get into our normal preamble, do come and join us on our Discord channel. It's a really fun place to be all year long, especially as we get into the playoffs and then into draft chat. So the link's in the live chat right now. If I can type while I'm talking, which is difficult for me. This is great podcast content while I do that on the fly, but there we go. And then I click on my own damn link. Very frustrating. So come and join us there. It'd be great. We'd love to have you. It's also in the audio description of the audio pod if you want in and you're an audio pod listener. College Football Podcast, I think, is going to be live tomorrow. All of the college football playoff quarterfinals are currently happening today. Ash just alluded to one of them. One of them happened late last night. The rest are happening subsequently. So Ohio State, Oregon is currently in progress. It's going to be a really fun day, and they're all going to break it down tomorrow, I think. So check them out for that. Please do like this episode, sub to the podcast. You guys know what to do on that front. It really does help us out, so thank you in advance. And please do go and follow Lions Nation Unite. It's Home and Royals project to bring the best in Lions content creators together and is heavily involved in that, appearing as a guest on lots of the shows that they do, so go and check them out. And then we're YouTube monetized. There's a tip jar down below, Twitch affiliate. If you want to show some love that way, that would be fantastic. But you being here is enough. Thank you very much in advance. Some news for the Lions. No obvious injuries coming out of the game on Monday night. Amon-Ra did seem to have some issue with his ankle during the game.
And Penny had his thumb injury near the end of the first half, but Dan said that's not going to be long-term probably, so we're all good under the hood.
They have released the estimations for the injury report for Sunday's game today, but we're going to go through that on Friday. Suffices to say, not a huge amount to write home about, apart from Alex Anzalone was estimated to be limited in practice. Dan has talked in his presser today about the fact that he will be out there practicing tomorrow and has a chance to play Sunday. God knows how much we need him. Other news from the Lions, they elevated defensive tackle Chris Smith and running back Jermar Jefferson for this game. They activated from injured reserve the linebacker Jalen Reeves-Mabin. He took a lot of snaps in this game. We've also subsequently released but 2 defensive backs, Maurice Norris from the main roster and Jamal Adams from the practice squad. And then in other news, the Lions have now stretched their franchise record in wins in the regular season to 14. 13 was already a record, and they've got a chance to push it one more to 15 on Sunday. And the Lions finish perfect away from home, going 8-0. Ash, any thoughts on all of those pieces of news?
Well, to start with the last one first, we are the first team to do that since the 2020 Chiefs, which is kind of cool. As for everything else, Jamal Adams was around basically to be an iffy player. Now that Iffy's back and seemingly fit and firing, no longer needed. Maurice Norris is released to give us that sort of that roster flexibility we like going into the week. Like, you look back, every week we've always done this. We've released this kind of player, be it Norris or Chris Smith or Maurice Alexander was a victim of it a couple of weeks ago consistently. It's to be expected, hopefully. To touch wood, it is AA replacing, because as you've alluded to, and as I've alluded to for weeks now, we really need him back because that linebacker core is looking a bit shaky. JRM being back's nice, gives us a bit of special teams depth because he's obviously a massive special teamer, and gives us a bit more veteran experience in that linebacker room because it's basically him, Campbell, and a lot of nobodies right now, to put it bluntly. As for the other 2 expected elevations, they love Chris Smith on the interior, seemingly over Broderick Martin, which is a bit concerning for Martin, but there's some extenuating circumstances there maybe. And obviously Jefferson as the sort of Monty replacement power runner, which again came in useful in this game, though he also made some good catches as well. So all in all, kind of all expected news, really.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I just can't believe the regular season record. It's insane. 14 wins. I could never have imagined it. I think we went through it Monday, that it's only the 9th team in history to have 14 regular season wins.
Yeah, we're tied for 9th in terms of regular season wins.
And one more win puts you joint second.
Yes.
Which is crazy. Of course, no team has gone 17-0 in the 17-game era, so the record is obviously 16 wins, which the Patriots have managed and no one else.
Yeah. Yep, Patriots and no one else.
Yeah, so, in rare territory, despite the fact that we have to play a 14-win team on Sunday. But we're not going to do the show before the show. Sunday's preview will stay on Friday, and we'll talk, obviously, about the Vikings from this week later on. Anyway, let's get into the Lions 49ers game in Santa Clara, and it finished 40-34. It was 21-13 to San Francisco at halftime. Finishes 27-13 in the second half to the Lions. Jared Goff, 26 of 34 for 303, 3 touchdowns, no picks, with a QBR of 73.3 and a passer rating 132.4. Brock Purdy had a good day mostly. 27 of 35, 377, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. QBR of 85.5, worth noting that's significantly higher than Jared Goff's QBR, but a passer rating of 116, which is significantly lower. Also worth noting that he went 3 rushes with 12 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And then Joshua Dobbs, who came in relief of Purdy with a late injury, he went 3 of 4 for 35 passing, but he was also 1 carry for 7 yards and a touchdown on the ground to make the score a little more respectable. Otherwise, in rushing, Lions led by Jahmyr Gibbs, 18 carries for 117 and a touchdown, and Craig Reynolds 7 for 31 in a good outing by him, I think, in relief of Gibbs at times. San Francisco were led by Isaac Guerrero, 9 for 34 in a fairly pedestrian outing for San Francisco on the ground. Their starter at running back was Deebo Samuel. He took the first 2 carries, but he only carried it all 3 times total for 16 yards. They went away from him very quickly, which was interesting. Otherwise, in the receiving game, Lions were led by Jameson Williams. In a 303-yard receiving game, he led the team with 77 yards, 5 of 8 for 77 and a touchdown. Shows you how much they shared it out. Sam Laporta, 6 of 8 for 64 and a touchdown. Amon-Ra, 8 of 10 for 60 and a touchdown. Otherwise, Gibbs had 4 of 4 for 46. Craig Reynolds had 2 of 2 for 35. And Allen Robinson with a clutch third down catch, 1 of 1 for 21. San Francisco, on the other hand, how have they done that? They have 412 yards receiving, but only 400 yards passing. I'm so confused.
400 because of sack yardage.
Sack yardage, right. Cool. That's fine. So they were led by Ricky Pearsall, who had a breakout game, 8 of 10 for 141 and a touchdown. It's amazing to think he was shot earlier this season. George Kittle, 8 of 8 for 112, didn't drop a ball, looked incredible when getting out there in space. Jauan Jennings, 7 of 10 for 67, and Isaac Guerrero, 4 of 4 for 65. He had 3 catches in the first quarter, and they went away from him too. Weird things for them. They had 2 fumbles, neither of which were recovered by the Lions. Samuel fumbled on a kick return. Jauan Jennings had a fumble out of bounds. Bethune actually had the fumble recovery on the Samuel kick return, and we'll get into it, but potentially some controversy there. On defense for Detroit, led by Jack Campbell in tackles with 9. The Lions had 2 sacks, one by Branch, one by Miles Adams, no other TFLs. Then 3 passes defended, 2 by Kirby and 1 by Amik Robertson. The 2 by Kirby were, of course, his 2 interceptions, which really turned the game. And there were 6 quarterback hits. In addition to the sacks, there was 1 by Nowakowski, 1 by Ife Melifonwu, 1 by Levi Onwuzurike, and 1 by Zadarius Smith. For San Francisco, led by 9 tackles by Domodor Lenore, they had 2 sacks both by Nick Bosa, and 5 other TFLs, 2 by Bosa, 1 by Fred Warner, 1 by Malik Collins, 1 by Ito Gross-Matos. They had a pass defended, only 1 by Renato Green, and then 4 quarterback hits. They were all by Nick Bosa, who really was the only man on that defensive line who did big things. The rest of them, not so much. As I mentioned, Kirby had his 2 picks for a total of 39 yards. Good day for Tom Kennedy returning the ball. He had 3 returns for 86 yards, including a long of 34. The Lions were consistently basically at the 30 or beyond, which was really good because they forced us to return the ball a lot. Deebo Samuel had 4 kick returns for 128 yards, so he was actually slightly better, but he did have that fumble I talked about. And then it was an iffy day for both kickers. Jake Bates, perfect on long field goals, and that kept up the Lions' momentum, including a 57-yarder, but missed 2 extra points, 2 of 4. And Jake Moody missed both of his field goals, 1 at the end of the first half, 1 later on, and missed an extra point. He was 4 of 5 on extra points. Ash, 40-34, and it was, a 12-point game, actually, going into late in the fourth quarter. It was going a bit toe-to-toe. We, couldn't quite keep pace at the end of that first half, and then it was almost all Lions in that second half.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a bit harsh to say that Bates missed 2 extra points. 1 was blocked. So we give him a bit of leeway. And I know some people are debating whether the block should have been allowed. It was fine, I think, in my opinion. We discussed it a bit on the stream. They have found the perfect way to get around this new sort of rule about touching the long snapper, and they played it to perfection. So fair play to them on that. But yeah, that first half, it was just whoever made the mistake first lost kind of thing. Obviously, both QBs were pretty much perfect throughout the first half. Didn't really, drop a pass or anything until late on. It was the main big thing in terms of scoring was us turning over and downs in there at their on their 8-yard line. Yeah, 8-yard line after Goff was slightly behind and late on a throw to Laporta in the end zone. Other than that, obviously them missing the field goal hurt them, but that's the only real blink moment from us, because obviously it was touchdown, turnover on downs, missed field goal, end of half. Like that sort of failure to score a touchdown on our third drive to match theirs, and then them missing the field goal. That's the only difference going into the half. And then from there, us getting the ball, we took over. We managed whatever happened at half time. We adjusted to overcome the area that they were targeting, because to be honest, the first half they were using the Buffalo Bills playbook, it seemed, targeting those linebackers. We did something in the second half. I haven't fully seen the game back to identify what. I'm hoping to do so for Friday, so I can highlight it. But we did whatever we needed to do to overcome that. And then obviously with a gift of a poor throw from Purdy on the first interception, and then Kirby showing his wide receiver instincts on the second one, that was the turning point. Like by then, the pressure was starting to come on them. It was a 4-point game. We scored points off both turnovers with touchdowns, and that made a massive difference. And by the end, they were just in a position where they couldn't keep up, and we ran the clock down in a couple of plays. Well, they ran the clock down. We could just kneel it out then after their timeouts, and that was it. And we get a bit of revenge for last week, and we get to troll the 49ers a bit with Fred Warner's speech before the game. Like, I love it. The fact that Amon-Ra and the Lions' own Twitter admin have both trolled Warner for that pre-game speech. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Moving on to the Lions inactives for this game. Teddy was the emergency third quarterback. I think that was probably expected. Otherwise, nothing crazy for the Lions. Monty couldn't go. We probably knew that for a while, really. And then otherwise, offensive line, Arashika, Sawston, Manu not going. And then on the D-line, Martin and Williams, quite like the previous week, really. So no, nothing crazy there. And then for the 49ers, missing some really big players. Linebacker Dre Greenlaw has been shut down for the year. He's done, but he hasn't been put on IR before this game, so it's technically one of the inactives. Travarius Ward had a berth, so he wasn't available. And then otherwise, they couldn't have their backup left tackle, who was meant to be starting in Spencer Burford, so they had to get OT4 in, which is just not so great. And otherwise, some other kind of more bench rotational players, Nabikander, Davis, Beal, and Allen not able to go. But Greenlaw, Burford, and Ward were big misses for this team.
Yeah, 100%. So Burford is a decent sort of versatile offensive lineman. I know he's played reps at guard. Obviously, he was drafted as a tackle out of UTSA. He was a big miss for them, though. You wouldn't really be able to tell from the way that our defensive line played at times. Greenlaw was obviously a big miss because, you know, he's having D winters in the game with some of the head-to-head shit he was doing. It would have been nice to actually have a linebacker who knew how to tackle. And then Ward obviously missed with the personal things. Congratulations to him on his newborn son. Kind of helped us a bit. I know, obviously, we spread the ball around. Everyone got sort of share of the targets, but having him there would have maybe helped him a bit on some of the plays, especially, you know, a certain play where technically Amon-Ra got a passing touchdown, but also didn't in a way. JMO's second.
Right, yes.
Because obviously that was on the opposite side to Ronaldo Green. Having a veteran there might have helped them. Or I think also Gibbs' rushing touchdown at the end of near the end of the game was also to Ward's usual side of the field. So 2 big plays that they could have maybe stopped if they had a veteran guy there. But yeah, the rest were rotational side. Obviously, Allen being their third QB. Izzy Abakanda, who me and Ant absolutely loved out of the draft from Pitt, just getting sort of an active treatment because he hasn't been there a while, and they obviously decided to use Samuel there. Davis is a rotational guy, Bill's a rotational guy. And then for us, it's the same old. Like Arashika has taken the mahogany inactive spot ever since he sort of started. Because now, as we saw in last game, we had to actually play a load of snaps with Glasgow out. And then this week, we're playing a sort of big offensive lineman role that we went to a lot with him and Skip. Arashika's unfortunately sort of fell victim to that, and then the rest are just standard. It's a bit worrying for Martin that he is now a consistent inactive again, because we're still hoping for kind of big things for him. I'm using a 3rd round pick on him, but it is what it is. Everyone else to be expected. Poor Jonah Williams, man. Claimed off the practice squad of the Rams, starts a game for us, and then basically been inactive ever since.
Yeah, it's a shame for him, but never mind. Anyway, let's get into the game. And Detroit won the toss and deferred to San Francisco on offense first. They returned the kickoff to the 39, so start from there. 15-yard pass over the middle to Chris Conley to get things started. Debo, primary running back, question mark is what I said. He took an end around for 10 yards as well here. Play action throw to Kittle for 15. Both our linebackers bite. That's going to be a running theme through this. Allows Kittle room between them and the safety. Huge amount of room, in fact. They then ran a reverse Philly special. So you had a handoff running right to the pitch, coming from right to left by the wide receiver. He's meant to throw, but the toss to him was behind him, so he actually couldn't get his eyes upfield. He manages to run anyway for 4 yards to the Detroit 10. 3rd and 2, quarterback sneak gets 1.5 yards. It's 4th and short. And then another sneak gets another 1.5 yards. So you got 1st down and goal at the 3. Offsetting unnecessary roughness penalties in the back of the end zone. So Juwan Jennings kept blocking Terry and Arnold straight into the hoardings behind the end of the end zone. It was a really rough rep, actually, by Jennings. You can see why he is regarded for his blocking and his grittiness, because he certainly showed it there. That was unnecessarily rough. Kirby reacted and pushed Jennings over, getting a flag. In the midst of all of that, everyone missed Kirby slapping, Arnold, slapping Juwan Jennings. I think he might have been ejected had that been seen by the referees. It was not, and he was not, but we are expecting a fine that hasn't been announced yet. I think that gets announced
Saturday.
Is it Saturday? I thought it was Thursday that the disciplinaries get handed out.
Saturdays.
Fair enough. We will await that, but it should surely be coming. Anyway, the offsetting penalties meant that the down counter, but it was 2nd down and goal from the 3, and a pass caught by Parcel for a touchdown is ruled short initially, but he did gain control in midair, but he gained control beyond the line of the end zone. His legs then came down with the ball outside the end zone. The legs coming down is what rules it a catch, but where you catch it is where the forward progress is marked as finished. That was beyond the line to gain, so that was a touchdown. PAT was good. San Francisco out to a 7-0 lead. I mean, frankly, they probably would have scored on 3rd down and goal from the quarter-yard line anyway, but there we go. Detroit get started 7-0 down after having given them the ball. We return it to the 35 on the kickoff, and then on 3rd and 2, a shotgun handoff to Gibbs gets 6 for a 1st down. Then a stretch play to the left-hand side, and I mean, Jared Goff almost didn't get the handoff out to Gibbs because it was so wide, but Gibbs accelerates around the outside for 21 yards to the San Francisco 30. JMO end around, looked like it was designed potentially for him to throw. Ends up getting a loss of 5. 2nd down and 15, a check down to Reynolds in the flat. Gets 26 yards. All he had to do was beat one man, and then eventually gets shepherded out at the San Francisco 9. Jefferson ran up the middle for 8 to the 1. 2nd down and goal from there. A run up the middle for Jefferson. Great TFL by Warner for a loss of 2. Kind of got bottled up. He tried to escape outside, and Bose was just there to mop it up. 3rd down and goal from the 3. Little handoff to JMO going from right to left for the touchdown. He waltzed in with no one around him. Fantastic blocking out there by Sam Laporta, who blocked 2 guys by himself to get him free. The PAT was no good, as we talked about earlier. Great block by Elliott, who timed it perfectly, waiting for our long snapper, Holden Hatton, to get his head up. And as soon as he does that, he crashes down on him and gets a paw up. I mean, obviously the ball is more often than not going to go over the long snapper's head. So if you can do that, you've got a great chance to block any field goal attempt. Never mind the PAT, which obviously is very close to the post in itself. So it actually ended up 7-6 at this point. So San Francisco probably feel like they've got a win there, given that they got the ball and they're a point ahead. But Purdy sacked, but unfortunately Al-Qadim Mohammed was holding Kittle, which didn't allow the standard route concept to develop, which is the design on the play. So that was a 5-yard penalty on us. A huge hit by Campbell on Garendo for a gain of 1. I mean, absolutely rocked him. Garendo should have had a loss in the flat on the next play. JRM read it perfectly, but just missed a tackle. They ended up getting 5 on 3rd and 4. Purdy throws an out route to Parcel. Brilliant one-handed catch, and he toe taps at exactly the right moment, just as he gains the control of the ball and goes out of bounds for 14 to the Detroit 45. Garendo goes up in the middle for an 11-yard gain, and then a Purdy fake toss pass on a crossing route to Kittle for 20. Lions, again, in the linebacker core, bit on the fake, whether it's a fake handoff or a fake toss or whatever it is. They both came downhill. Easy throw to Kittle on the crosser for 20 to Detroit 14. Linebackers all at sea. DJ Reader then had an encroachment penalty. There was actually underrated the fact that they threw the ball. A great PBU by Kirby Joseph against Ricky Pearsall. It didn't count because the throw technically didn't count because the play was waved dead, but they didn't know that at the time. So worth bigging that play up. Eventually they do get a 5-yard gain because of the penalty on 1st and 5. Purdy with a play action throw to Juszczyk on the far side of the field, who barrels forward for a 9-yard touchdown. PAT's good, and San Francisco lead by 8, and that's the end of the first quarter. And Ash, a first quarter that featured only 3 drives. All of them went for touchdowns. Some very inventive plays here. Some good plays by both teams. Our linebackers biting on bits, allowing Kittle to do things over the top, but our offense also looking very good. It seemed like it was going to be one of those games, and it turned out to be in the end as well.
Yeah, it really did. So, as I said, well, alluded to earlier, it seemed the 49ers with their scripted plays just saw what the Buffalo Bills did to us and decided to replicate it with their guys. Like, I know, obviously, the Bills have the advantage of Josh Allen, who is way better than Brock Purdy, as much as some Niners fans don't want to hear that. But in terms of like the running backs, and Carendo's probably be better than Ty Johnson, and Kittle is way better than Kincaid or Knox. So it just executed really well for them. Both linebackers play and play action. Probably you could argue maybe expect better from Campbell considering he's the veteran in the room. But, you know, when you don't trust the guy next to you, sometimes you do have to do that where you're like, okay, they're showing a run here. I've just got to go and field the run because if I don't, my guy might not be able to, and then we'll lose. We're going to consider explosive running play. And time again, because he's having to do that, they're just getting free between the second and third line of the defense. But you know, as soon as you don't bite on it once, that's the one they're going to hand it off. Like that's always the fear in the back of your mind. So it is what it is. But yeah, like, and on the Jennings one, though, so obviously the Jennings blocking stuff. Like I love Juwan Jennings. Kind of lost a bit of respect for him. Kind of did, but didn't at the same time because yeah, that's what he does. He plays to the whistle sometimes after it. But yeah, it wasn't necessarily rough though, and I hate how it's given certain fan bases, not pointing any fingers, but the one we'll be facing on Sunday, more ammunition to use against Kirby, you know, taking things out of context to make him look bad when, you know, their players do similar things. But then again, what you expect of them. But for the most part, it was just a ding-dong battle, both teams throwing punches at each other, quite literally in some cases, obviously, but just attacking each other's defenses that's depleted with 2 of the best offenses in the league. I know obviously they're missing the left-hand side of their line and their right tackle, but they're able to deliver. And then us missing our kind of RB1A with Monty, and then having our left guard coming back from injury, just trading blows, really, just scoring touchdowns on each other. Obviously, I know we had our extra point blocked, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But yeah, going into the second quarter, it just seemed like one of them where whoever has the ball last probably will win it.
Yeah, it did seem like it was going that way. So Detroit get the ball in the start of their second possession, the start of the second quarter. 3rd and 3, Goff with a short throw to Sam Laporta for 6. Really nice catch in a tight window. Goff had to hold it for a while to find a guy. And Sam had 2 guys around him, but Goff put it only where he could get it. And with strong hands, he got the catch in the first down. 2nd and 3, Gibbs up the middle and bounces to the right-hand side for 15 yards. Great run by him. Holding on Saulus Boza beats him on a speed rush, sets the Lions back to 1st and 20. Then an effort sack by Boza, who had to try and beat Saul 3 times before he got to Goff, who held it too long for a loss of 3. On 2nd and 23, Goff had a check down to Gibbs, who should have only got 3 yards, but managed to stay inbounds after a nice stiff arm and got 11 instead, which got the Lions 3rd and 12. And they then ran the famous hook and ladder play to Amon-Ra St. Brown with the pitch to Jameson Williams for a 42-yard touchdown. Amon-Ra got it just a yard up past the line of scrimmage and pitched it to Jamo, who was running left to right as Amon-Ra was going right to left. Defense had no chance. It's one of those that I think some better teams than San Francisco will be a bit more prepared for us to be doing plays like this. The fact that we're capable of doing plays like this means that if we actually run the concept, it's going to freeze the defense on the back end as the safety actually try and cover someone who doesn't have the ball just in case they get pitched it. It's going to open up potentially quite a lot for this offense, because then maybe you don't actually have safety help with one guy running free. You just have the person who's manned up on them because they've got to cover someone who might get a pitch. I just think it's great planning by the Lions to introduce this as part of the offense. They talked about this in the coverage, actually, as who was it? It was Travis Kelce saying that he thinks it's the biggest untapped edge in the game if you can introduce something like this to it. And the Lions have really taken that to heart, which is great to see. PAT was good after that touchdown for 42 yards, and it was 14-13. San Francisco, though, go back straight into it. 2nd down and 9. Jet sweep by Parcel. Incredible hit by Iffy to rock him backwards for only 2 when it looked like he had all the space in the world to get the first down. 3rd and 7. Purdy went deep to Parcel for a 40-yard gain. It was Arnold in coverage, but they ran it with trips to the right-hand side. And the person who was up against the slot, well, the second one of those trips was Brian Branch with Terry and Arnold inside him. And then the route that was run by the receiver forced Branch basically to run into Terry and Arnold. Natural pick play. Nothing untoward by San Francisco, just a well-designed play. Arnold couldn't recover, created about 6 or 7 yards of separation. Frankly, a better throw probably leads to a touchdown there, but Arnold did manage to recover to get him out of bounds at the 9. 2nd down and goal from the 9, and Purdy scrambles for a touchdown. He was under pressure, came forward, faked the throw at about the line of scrimmage, maybe just beyond it, but I think it would have been a legal throw. Fakes out Turner, and there's no one else around him. The PAT was good, and it's still an 8-point game then, 21-13. Detroit then take over on their 3rd possession. Gibbs TFL by Gross Matos for a loss of 2. 2nd and 2, Gibbs with an angle route for 19 to the Detroit 47. A 2nd and 3, check down to Amon-Ra for 4, gets a first down. 2nd and 1, Reynolds run up the middle for 4, gets a first down. 1st and 10, quick out to Amon-Ra for 14 yards to the San Francisco 15. It seems it's all going very well. Lions run a fake end around Sewell, which looks like it's one of those ones where it's designed for him to throw. The coverage missed it, but the Check the Mic podcast did note that, and we noted that when we were calling it live as well. It was actually a run to Gibbs, which actually went for no gain, but setting it up for maybe later on in the season, perhaps. 3rd and 5, Gibbs ran for 2 yards, but couldn't beat Green. If he'd beaten him one-on-one, it would have been a touchdown, but good tackle by Renardo. And then on 4th and 3, Goff throw to the back of the end zone to Sam Laporta. Amazing PBU by Renardo Green to force a turnover on downs. Sam Laporta actually gets popped after the Renardo Green PBU to the head, which I didn't actually note during the live coverage. You could potentially call unnecessary roughness there, the way he gets hit. It's later than you would like. It's to the head or neck area. It wasn't called. And so the San Francisco 49ers take over on their own 8-yard line. Purdy throw away after a Nowaski pressure. Purdy then with a deep throw to Garendo versus Jalen Reeves-Maybin for 40 yards. So wheel route from running back, very much like the Bills game with Ty Johnson against...
Zeke Turner.
No. Linebacker who we've subsequently released.
David Long Jr.
No, the other one.
Oh, Quan Alexander.
Thank you very much.
He was a whale. That's why he was whale.
He's still a linebacker.
But you said he's just a Mike, and that's what confused. That's why I said David Long.
Sorry, apologies. Yes, so they saw that on tape. They've clearly done the same thing. Our linebackers are really struggling against the running backs in coverage when they come out the backfield. Exploited to perfection. So that got the 49ers up to the 48-yard line of San Francisco. Purdy then avoids the JRM blitz with a pass to Garendo for 8. Then a pass to Parcel for 6 on the far sideline. Time running out. Throw to Jennings with a forced fumble by Meek, but it went out of bounds. That allowed the clock to keep running, so they had to do a spike to stop the clock on 3rd and 2 with 20 seconds left. A crosser to Kittle to the San Francisco 7, but offensive pass interference on Jacob Cowing. He pushed his man into the person who was meant to be covering Kittle on that play, so it leads to 3rd and 12 with time running out. Check down to Kittle for 7, gets to Detroit 33 with 7 seconds left. Allowed for a 51-yard attempt by the kicker, which was no good, pulled wide right, and allowed Detroit to kneel out the half. 21-13 down. It ended up with San Francisco having one more possession than the Lions in this half, if you don't count the Lions kneel down to end it. And they didn't come away with points in that final drive. And I think 3 points there really would have put a knife in the heart of the Lions just a little bit, because they get a turnover on downs. If you end up punishing that in a 2-minute drill and you get out to a more than 1 score advantage, it feels like maybe the game is slipping away a bit. To go in only 8 points down after our defense is suffering and they have one more possession felt like a big win.
It really did, yeah. And as you said, like, see where we left off the first quarter, just the hook and ladder. I know it's always one of the things now, isn't it? There's always, oh yeah, person takes clip of Lions player doing something a bit aggressive. Oh, look how like all this. Then the other one is, oh yeah, Dan. Well, number 2 is Dan's too aggressive on 4th down, which we'll come on to in a minute with the obviously the turnover on downs. But the third is always, why are they running this trick play? You should be saving it later in the season when you need it against a better team. And it's like, number 1, how many times do I have to tell you, old man? The well is deep. We have so many trick plays that we could probably have a whole playbook full of them, which would break Jeremy. Like, imagine putting that in Madden and making him play with it. It'd be hilarious. But number 2, at this point, the hook and ladder is not a trick play for us. We've run it so many times at this point. It is a standard part of our playbook, to the point where, I won't be surprised if, we're now setting stuff up off, because as you'll probably hear, because I've obviously clipped it up before and then after, which I'm watching alignments, because I think now there is a certain alignment we line up in, and if they get the look, we're running a hook and ladder out of it. If not, we don't get the look, then it's still probably a pass to Amon-Ra that's just beyond the 60, say 1 yard beyond the 60, we can convert. But there's that fact that now, if we get a certain look, we are doing it, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a big play. Like, as Amon-Ra and JMO said, even after the coverage, when they're on Sports Center afterwards getting interviewed, they've practiced that 3 or 4 times. They've got it down. They know what they're doing, and it shocked SVP when he heard it. It was like, what? Like, you usually have to practice a lot. It's like, nah, we ran it 3 times. We know what we're doing. It's probably the same with the fumble Rooski last week. They practice that 3 times and then pull it off to perfection against the Bears. Just one of them things with our trick plays now, where we've got players who are intelligent enough, athletic enough, know what they're doing to just practice it a couple of times. And when we get a certain look, we get it. Hell, I won't be surprised at this point, because we're doing so many trick plays out of standard alignments. Half the time we call a trick play, and then at the line, Goff's like, okay, we're not getting the look right. It's getting changed into this standard play. Because you see the amount of times now where Goff's at the alignment coach calling, changing the plays and that. It literally could be that way. Like, Ben's like, okay, this is the trick play. If you don't get the look, then we're going to do this play. And it works. It really does work. And then obviously, to sort of, because I alluded to it a minute ago with the Dan Campbell thing, the 4th down, like, I agree. I still don't know. I agree with going for it, because at this point, as I said, it seemed like one of those games where whoever has the ball last, whoever has that advantage wins. So I agree with it. I even agree with the play call. Number 1, it's just a really good play from Ronaldo Green, which of course I'm going to say, considering where he went to college and how high I was on him in the draft process. But also, as I said earlier, Goff was like half a second late and just behind Laporta on it. If it was a bit earlier, it might have been a touchdown. But it's just those kind of fine margins. I don't really hold anything against us there. But then, we turn over downs to every known thing. They've got 2-minute drill, and kind of helps by the fact that Jake Moody decided to stick to his Michigan roots a bit there. But we also got the forced fumble from Amik, which is a really damn good play. Just goes out of bounds, unfortunately, for them. Jacob Cowing obviously getting the OPI helps us as well. You probably heard my comments about him on the preview that you kind of alluded to earlier with your comment with the Ricky Pearsall thing, and decided, I'm going to make myself known on this play. Unfortunately for him, it was in a bad way, which is just stupid. But to go into the half, 8 points down, it being close. Well, as we kind of saw with ASU earlier, sometimes all you need is to keep it kind of close, and then with a couple of plays your way, it can all flip.
Yeah, that's right. You need to stay in the game sometimes and just have a hope and a prayer that the other team shit the bed. And well,
Yeah, unlike Oregon right now.
Yeah, they're not doing great right now.
17-0, and it's not even 5 minutes into the second quarter.
It's not great. It's definitely not great. I just wanted to see where I was going to finish off talking about the next set of drives. So we're going to say there.
Okay. I'll put my mouse there. There we go.
Cool. All right. So coming out of the half, Detroit now have the ball down 8. Kickoff return to the 34-yard line. Goff play action throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown on a quick out for 13 yards. It was an absolutely perfect throw, beating double coverage, beating the corner and the safety in cover 2, I think. So really nice stuff. Amon-Ra seemed to get his foot trapped a little bit going to ground. He was hobbling. Although the very next play was a play action check down again to Amon-Ra for 6. On 2nd and 4, Gibbs runs straight into Bosa for a loss of a yard. Not a great heads-up play by Gibbs. 3rd and 5, Goff on a crosser to J-Mo for 12 yards. Tight coverage by Green again, who had a really good day in coverage despite everything. But the route was fantastic. The throw was good, and J-Mo is so much better at this sort of route than he has been in the past. Nice catch, good hands, moving the chains. 1st and 10, Gibbs again TFL by Bosa for a loss of 1. Gibbs with another run up the middle for 6 on 2nd down, makes it 3rd and 5. And then a one-on-one go ball on the far sideline to Allen Robinson for 21 yards versus Yardham. He just beat him off the line. Great throw. We've not really shown Allen Robinson that sort of faith this year. So took me by surprise, but he made the play, and credit to the Lions for giving that to him, and credit Goff for the throw, and Allen for the catch. 1st down and goal as a result. At the 10-yard line, Goff misses Amon-Ra St. Brown for the touchdown on a speed out. 2nd down and 10, Gibbs handoff for 4 up the middle, made it 3rd down and goal from the 6, and Sam Laporta from the slot position on the left-hand side runs the angle route for the touchdown. Defenders tried to call for offensive pass interference. No chance, he did nothing. 2-point try here to try and level the game up. We can talk about the merits of that later, but we decried it live. Goff scrambles right, holds on to it, and an easy throw to Tim Patrick at the back of the end zone. No one around him. And the 2-point try was good to tie it up to 21 apiece. So San Francisco now have the ball with a tie game, and they get right back in front. Kickoff return, but holding sets them back to the 16. Throw over the middle to Juwan Jennings for 13. Great hit by Kirby, but he hung on to it, Juwan Jennings. 2nd down and 5, Purdy play action throw on a deep cross to Pearsall for 39 yards to Detroit 27. Again, the linebackers split on the play action element of it, and they just had an easy pitch and catch, even for 15, 20 yards or so. But Pearsall then with the yak to take it for 39. Kittle then breaks a tackle on a check down for 22 yards. I put Kildor, I mean Kindle Vildor there. Misses the tough tackle. He only could get him by the ankle even just a little bit, but he was there, maybe should have done a little better. Allowed them to get to the Detroit 5, and then 2nd down and goal. A little pop pass to Deebo Samuel, who was doing a jet motion for the touchdown. PAT was good, and San Francisco lead 28-21. Detroit take back over, down 7. They tied it up before, but this time have to settle for a little less. Goff checked down to Gibbs for 9. Great moves by him to get an extra few yards when he could have only got 5 or 6. 2nd down and 1, Goff with a deep pass over the middle to Sam Laporta for 28 to the San Francisco 33. Featured a great pass pro rep by Gibbs, who was on an island having to take a blitzing Malik Mustafa, and he rocked him back, which was really great. He had to then go to the sideline for the next drive, maybe, where he had a cut to his cheek that had to be looked at. On a subsequent 3rd and 3, Goff was sacked by Bosa. Bosa got some pressure up front. Goff tried to do his horrible little spin away out of trouble. Ended up just losing another 5 yards on the play. A total of 13 on that sack was lost, so it would have been a 44-yard attempt if it had been at that line of scrimmage before. Instead, it was a 57-yard attempt, and Jake Bates was money from that distance, which made it 28-24, which felt like a minor victory in itself, that from that distance we managed to narrow the gap. San Francisco, then have the ball up 4, looking to press the advantage to a 2-score game. They do have a play action pass deep towards Kittle, and it's picked off by Kirby, but Branch tackled Kittle on the route, which was a DPI, of course. But on the very next play, Purdy overcooks one towards Ricky Pearsall over the middle, and it's straight into the breadbasket of Kirby Joseph, who returns it to the San Francisco 43. The Lions then take over at the 43 of San Francisco, and on 2nd down and 4, pass over the middle to Amon-Ra, all alone for 13 yards to the San Francisco 7. 1st down and goal, Jefferson ran to the left for 3 to San Francisco 4. 2nd down and goal, play action throw by Goff, but was short of JMO. 3rd down and goal, a throw towards Amon-Ra, who just couldn't find the ball. And then on 4th down and goal, they go for it again, and a short throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was all alone, just 1 yard short of the end zone, and manages to waltz in. Renardo Green busted that coverage, unfortunately for him. His one maybe bad rep of the game. PAT was good for the Lions, and 31-28 lead at the end of the 3rd quarter. And Ash, this is where it all starts to change. It felt like, that whatever happened, San Francisco were just going to score touchdowns all the way through. Then we have to settle for a field goal, so they have the ball with the lead. But an interception turns everything, and suddenly the Lions are ahead.
Yeah, 100%. Like, the drive out the half was pretty damn good. Like, they made some plays on us for sure, with obviously the tackles for losses on Gibbs, but we just rose above it to the point where, people like Allen Robinson were making plays, which is just insane. But the touchdown to Laporta, angle route, corner post, don't care what you call it, just a really good route from him to get free. And then the 2-pointer as well, just perfect. Got like scrambling away from the pressure, but they were trying to condense down on Goff, scramble away from it, and Patrick's just free just to come down with it, make his play on the game, all tied up, perfect. But as you say, just seemed like they were gonna just blow for blow with their drive out, just getting a steep, the crosser to Pearsall, just that's the standard kind of route for their plays on play action. Is it's usually Debo running them, but obviously with Debo's recent conversion to running back, it seems that's now going to Pearsall, and it just works for them. And Kittle do Kittle things, and then the pop pass to Debo, and suddenly they're back in front. And then our drive did the best we could. Goff, that's one of his two. That's his second done play of the game. The first one being the 2-point, the 4th down with Laporta. The only 2 plays of the game you could really say he did a bad on. And even then, Bates kind of bails him out. And for his trouble, then obviously just a bit on. Bates obviously gets calmed out by the TV camera crew, shall we say, spawning a whole new genre of memes, which I love. Poor guy. But then Kirby decides to, he's heard enough about the Xavier McKinney stuff. Like, Xavier McKinney's leading the league in interceptions. He should be defensive player of the year. And he's like, nah, fuck this, mate. First one picks him off. Obviously, Branch kind of kills him on that one. But then he's like, it's to quote Anthony Joshua, it was so good, I had to do it twice. Picks him off. Kind of a gift by Purdy on it, but kind of shows we were getting pressure at that point. The offense, and obviously pressure was starting to build upon them because we were still keeping it close. At this point, obviously, we went in at halftime with 8-point gap. It's down to 4. Now we're showing that we can kind of make some stops on them. And Kirby just gets it. And then we capitalize as we did all day on the turnovers, just getting the ball. And then Amon-Ra all alone for that touchdown. Again, bad play from Granado, poor, unfortunately, but just so easy for him. I literally say it like it's in the clip. I think I cut it off just for saying it's just so easy. Like, how was Amon-Ra that open? I do not know, but it happens. And suddenly, at the end of the 3rd quarter, after kind of things looking bad going into the half, to the point where I had to remind everyone of what happened in the NFC Championship last year, where we were in that position. We go into the end of the 3rd quarter, up 3 points, and to use Jeremy's least favourite word, momentum was all with us at this point.
It was. Just as an aside, another touchdown for Ohio State. Another one for Jeremiah Smith. 5 receptions, 161 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Jeremiah Smith. Will Howard, the quarterback, is 9 for 14 for 255 and 3 touchdowns. For those of you of a mathematical persuasion, that is more than 28 yards per reception for Ohio State. It's ridiculous. Against Oregon, the #1 team in the nation. Insane. Crazy, crazy game. 24-0 with only 20 minutes gone in that game. But anyway, never mind. Many thanks to MileMarker301 for the $10 super chat. Has the Lions emoji and 14-2. Thank you, MM. Appreciate you very, very much. Thank you, man. Appreciate that too. I'm working in 8 hours, so I can't do that.
Great time I can actually do it. Plus, I need it. It's either that or start crying about FSU fumbling the bag with Jeremiah Smith last year.
There we go. I mean, would you have a quarterback who could throw him the ball anyway?
Luke. But now he's gone as well.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I meant. Anyway, coming out into the fourth quarter and San Francisco now down 3. Can they get back ahead with a touchdown? Well, Purdy almost sacked, but manages to find Kittle for 9 yards on a crossing route. Then has a mid-crosser to Kittle for 18 yards. Great coverage by Iffy, but throw and catch were absolutely perfect. Another double reverse to Parcel, this time in the correct direction, quote-unquote, for the Philly special play. So Parcel running from left to right, looking to throw downfield. Nothing's open, so he throws it away very smartly. It's actually one thing that you see on these plays where the running back, wide receiver are going to throw. That when it's not there, they often run out of bounds or eat a sack. But you can throw it away. And I think Parcel actually did a really good heads-up play there. 3rd and 10, throw to Jawan Jennings. PBU by Amik was perfect on the far sideline. Would have been a first down. So it was a very key play. I think it might have actually deflected off his helmet when he wasn't really looking. But either way, good coverage. 58-yard attempt for the kicker, and it was no good wide left. So not only did the Lions have the ball up 3, but they had it in great field position, only 2 yards shy of midfield. And the Lions take over. Gibbs gets bottled up, but reverses field. Goff gets down with a block and actually takes a hit to the head. And Gibbs gets 3 as a result. Resulting 4th and 3 at the San Francisco 45. The Lions go for it, and a nice throw to Sam Laporta, who's wide open for 19 yards down to the San Francisco 26. J-Mo then slips on a subsequent 3rd down, which means that the Lions are in 4th and long, so they take a 42-yard field goal, which is good, and they go up by 6. So, San Francisco again, another chance to go in front here despite everything that's happened. Purdy escapes another JRM blitz, but is cleaned up by Miles Adams for a loss of 5. 2nd and 15 take a delay of game after the sack. 2nd and 20, a quick pass to Parcel for 15 yards. On 3rd and 5, again to Parcel for 14 yards to get a first down. From 2nd and 20, they bailed themselves out there. Purdy with a play action pass to Kittle wide open for 24 yards, but the new left guard after an injury, Pleasance, was ruled to be ineligible downfield, which ruled out a big gain. So on 1st and 15 instead, Branch pushes down Jennings after a completion twice for a flag for unnecessary roughness, and it gifts the 49ers a first down. And you're thinking, well, they're going to go ahead by 1 here, but at least we'll have the ball. But no, Purdy decided to gift the Lions the game, all gift wrapped. It was a bit of a late Christmas present, but, you know, one gift is better than none. So 1st and 10, Purdy play action pass over the middle on a skinny post by Kittle, and Kirby reads it perfectly. He triggers as soon as he sees Kittle get his foot in the ground, and he comes downhill to grab it. He's there a millisecond before George Kittle, but then his momentum's coming forward, and he actually returns it very well to the Detroit 38. So the Lions now have the ball up 6 in good field position. 3rd and 2 gives right end for a 30-yard touchdown. I've obviously missed out a lot of plays, but they were all very short up to that point. Great blocking by the O-line one-on-one. All of the receivers were to the left-hand side, bar Tim Patrick. O-line on the right-hand side, a fantastic fencing that off, so Gibbs can just get up there. And then Patrick runs a route which is run by the cornerback with him, and then Patrick at the right moment just fences him off from the outside so Gibbs can run down the sideline. No one's going to catch him, and the Lions go up 40-28. They should go for 2 to go up by 14. They decide to go for the PAT, and it's no good wide left. Rough kick by Jake Bates. Dan Campbell did address this actually at the presser about an hour ago, 2 hours ago, and said, we would have gone for 2 then. don't worry about that for the future. So I think it's clear he knows he made a mistake in the moment there, and I think maybe got caught up with it. Or there was a reason why they didn't go for 2, but I can't imagine what that would have been. Regardless, it's a 12-point game. There's about 3 minutes to play here. Debo with the kick return, which we've referenced before. Anthony Pittman forces a fumble. Ball's clearly out before he goes to ground. The Niners recover it by Bethune, the linebacker. And he returns it legitimately, I think, for a touchdown. It's whistled dead for down by contact when he recovers it. Bethune's on the ground, and he is being touched at some point. But it doesn't look like in the small little bit of video that you get given that he's actually being touched while he then takes possession of the ball. It was whistled dead before he got into the end zone, but I haven't seen much blowback on this, probably because the game's basically over at this point anyway. I do think potentially the 49ers could feel aggrieved that this isn't a touchdown, because he's clearly touched before he receives the ball, but then that touch seems to cease. So I don't know.
I think it's because he gets the ball from between somebody's legs. So because he touches one of our players, it's kind of like, to quote the Isaac Newton, because he's touching one of our players, they're also technically touching him back. So he's down by contacts because he's contacting one of our players. So very Newton's third law of motion in the rules right there. But, you know, you got it. I'm just trying to, help because as much as I love Tate and Bethune, you can do that against any other team that's not the Lions.
Anyway, it was whistled dead, and San Francisco have the ball at their own 28 with 2:52 to go, down 12. It's possible they've got all 3 timeouts that they can have 2 possessions here if they go perfect. So the game isn't quite over, which makes the Lions going for 2, or not going for 2, an interesting moment, especially because they go quite quickly for a touchdown. Check down to DeGrendo for 12 yards to the San Francisco 47. 3rd and 2, a throw to Pearsall for 10 yards on a quick hook. Branch on the nickelback blitz for a sack and a loss of 7. He came on the nickel blitz. Usually in that play, you have the safety rotating down into the player that he's covering. That didn't happen, so Purdy didn't have a key to look at to see that the blitz was coming. Perfectly executed, of course. If he sees that the slot receiver is just open very quickly, you can get out of that quite quickly. So it was a risky play by the Lions defense, but you know what? When we were playing like we were, maybe you have to take a risk, and it really worked. Purdy was actually hurt on that play, did not come back into the game. So Joshua Dobbs comes in, and he puts together a drive with completions to Jennings for 15, Jennings for 9, Kittle for 11, and then he scrambles to the near sideline for a 7-yard touchdown. The PA... They went for a PAT? They went for a PAT, yes, because they're down 12. No good wide right, but it's still a 6-point game. They then go for an onside attempt because they had to burn a timeout after the Purdy injury, which meant they had to go for it. The onside kick attempt, unfortunately for them, was just hammered straight out of bounds. I think tried to hit a Lions player so it would come back towards them. It didn't quite work. And that allowed the Lions to kneel out for the ball game. And just before we go into any more, many thanks to J.K. Perkins for the $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Says, great analysis, guys, week after week. I am a Uni of Michigan alum, and I can't believe we held the Buckeyes to 10 points. Well, I'll tell you what, Oregon would take that now as Ohio State score again. I think it's a Travion Henderson rush. No.
66-yard rushing touchdown for him.
Yikes.
Literally first play off the punt.
I mean, the Buckeyes have scored 31 points, and they have only run 24 plays.
Give me a second. College. Give me a second.
Insane.
Game on paper. Because I want to see what college. I want to see what the EPA for them right now is, because Jesus Christ. Stats.
It's terrific
design. 0.53 EPA per play for Ohio State. There's a 99th percentile.
Yeah. Embarrassing for Oregon. They're getting bounced as the number 1 team in the nation by an Ohio State team who, as J.K. Perkins rightly said, Michigan at the end of the year humbled Ohio State. I mean, they really made Ohio State look bad. That could have put Ohio State's status in jeopardy a little bit. I mean, they needed that win and they did not get it. But Oregon have 66 total offensive yards to Ohio State's 347. Anyway, let's get back to Detroit and Ash. I mean, both offenses were firing in that first half. The defenses on both sides were struggling. Despite good plays individually by some players, it seemed like neither side could really put a set of 3 defensive plays in a row together, apart from the Lions giving up the 4th and short on one of the drives for San Francisco. Obviously, the Lions also had some 4th down drives where they didn't get it on one, did get it on others. But the Lions turned it on defense in the second half. They got just a little bit better down to down, and then obviously had those splash plays with the interceptions, which turned the tide of the game.
Yeah, just I know we kind of mentioned it on the broadcast, but Kirby just deciding to take the game over. Just that's what we need. I know at this point with some of the injuries we've got, we kind of need these star players kind of breaking out. That's what we got today, luckily. Like Kirby, that second one, kind of showing his wide receiver instincts, as I said, because he used to play that until his final year at Illinois when he moved to free safety. And you could kind of see it with that where, yeah, he just read the concept perfectly and jumps it perfectly, has the athleticism to beat out Kittle to it. Just a perfect play. Like the first one, yeah, was easily a gift. This second one, I credit Kirby more than discredit Purdy for it. Like if Kirby was 0.2 of a second later, Kittle probably catches that. It's just a really good play from him. But and again, suddenly we score off the turnover with so if you watch it back, you see that obviously Amaron's in the backfield, Gibbs is out wide, and suddenly flips it over because he sees that 1-on-1 with Patrick. It's like, if Patrick blocks this guy, Gibbs has just got to outrun a hobbling Fred Warner, which is obviously a good matchup for us. And he changes the play and it works, to showing the kind of command that Goff's got over the offense and his ability to read defenses. Something that, you know, a lot of people discredit because, yeah, Lamar, Josh Allen are probably the 2 that are going to win the MVP right now. Goff should be up there because, yeah, he doesn't have the athleticism those do. You know, he's usually good for a 1 scramble a game for a first down. But what he lacks against them, he makes up so much with his game IQ and his command of the offense. And it showed there, just like it showed last year against the Chargers with him changing the play when we had the wrong personnel out and it ended in a 70-yard Monty run. He just knows what he's doing. And then from there on, they're in kind of a shitty situation in a way. Obviously, as we discussed, maybe they could feel aggrieved with the fumble return, the touchdown. Nah. And then Dobbs coming in. I know obviously Purdy he's supposedly okay. The nerve damage in his right elbow, but they're just sitting him this week anyway because the season's over for them. Dobbs' revenge game, who would have ever fought it? But again, Moody, it's just gone wrong from him. I know obviously, again, someone they spent a 3rd round pick on last year, but won't be surprised if we move on this year and they kind of learn their lesson. But someone will probably get a good kicker out of them so long as they can build his confidence up, like what he had to do with Bates. Like Bates was 100% a confidence kicker coming into camp, and we did the right thing. We've built him up, and look at him now nailing 57-yarders, being an absolute G. Obviously, putting up with the paint me like one of your French girl memes or the George Costanza memes that's happening about him. Supposedly, after as he got his phone at the end of the game, his family and friends had already sent him a load of funny texts about it. The poor guy. But that 4th quarter shows anything that, yeah, we can be in, that second half in general showed that, yeah, we can be in a hole. We have the players that can dig us out of that hole and help us win the game. You look back, even this time last year, maybe, but definitely 2, 3, 5, 10 years ago, we just wouldn't. We're completely different now. We're a completely different beast.
So we've had seasons where we felt like we can do comebacks before. Famously, the 2016 season from Stafford had 8 4th quarter comebacks. But while that felt like Stafford was hauling us to those by being maybe one of the most clutch players in the league and just by sheer force of will he was going to do it, it really feels like a team effort for this team doing it. It doesn't really rely on any one person. It's the entire team banding together and saying, no matter what, nothing's getting us down. You have a look at this game, the Buffalo game that we lost, the first Vikings game where we were 14 to
Yeah.
nothing down, that we will get behind, and that happens in football, and that's no cause for alarm because this team is going to get itself back in. We were talking about the defense, and I alluded to the fact at the top of the show that I found this game encouraging for the defense, and I just wanted to elaborate on why, because I feel like that take's going to make a lot of people go, what's he talking about? And I understand, I do, but if you have a look at what this defense has done in December, they have not set the world alight. And my fear with all of the injuries that they've had is that this defense doesn't have anything to hang its hat on. It was getting some interceptions, it was getting some turnovers early in the season. Those have gone as well as giving up the big yards. And what I'm looking at now kind of says to me, this defense can still be frisky. It might give up some yards, but it can tighten up sometimes. The down-to-down stuff is pretty good. You've just got to put together a set of 3. And I saw some good plays on first and second down sometimes, or we were putting us. They got a conversion from second and 20, which we really shouldn't have given up. But the fact that they were getting back there in the first place was good. We were creating pressure on Purdy, especially in that second half. We had the nickel blitz, which worked well. JRM was coming on blitzes, and Purdy was having to avoid him. Now JRM didn't clean those up, but one of them led to the Miles Adams sack. Another one forced him to throw it away. That there are ways that this team are causing trouble for an offense down the stretch. The fact that that actually got better in the second half, I thought was also really encouraging too. It's not like they got gassed and it was getting worse. So I guess what I'm trying to say about it being encouraging is my expectations were super low. I mean, you give up 48 points to Buffalo. Was it 48, 42? 44, 42? Something like that. We gave up more than 40 points against Buffalo. We've given up here more than 30 points against San Francisco. In the game before, we gave up more than 30 points against Green Bay. It's clearly been a struggle for us. And I didn't see any redeeming features until now, and now I'm seeing some redeeming features. So my expectations were met or exceeded. They were low, but this is good. We're going to go into the playoffs. And the Vikings are a better offense than the 49ers are. There's no doubt about that. And we'll cover that game in a couple of days' time. But there are reasons to think that a Sam Darnold-led team are going to give you opportunities to turn the ball over. And we've shown that we can take those opportunities. So it's all going to be about just executing in the moment. And that's going to be great. One of the notes I have here about this is, apart from that one Goff mistake, maybe this is one of Goff's best games as a Lion. I mean, when he was forced to go toe-to-toe against a defense which, has some good players on the back end. It's got some terrific linebackers which should have bottled up the run a bit. And I mean, they did bottle up the run pretty well until Gibbs had that late 30-yard touchdown. We didn't have a terrific amount of success on the ground through most of the game. The Goff really put the game on his back. You were talking about his football IQ, how he's able to change plays at the line and all that sort of stuff. But the little pieces, the 4th down and the 3 throw to Sam Laporta for moving the chains there, when, that's a real bit of the game where if they turn it over on downs, you're probably losing that game there. So the game's kind of in the balance at that point. You've got, what are the other plays here that really kind of stand out to me? You had, obviously, the hook and ladder play. The hook and ladder plays only work if the first ball is perfect, and it's only a 1-yard gain to Amon-Ra, but he has to have it secure so that he can pop it up inside of half a second, otherwise you're not making it work. And, he's just on time with all of those things. The pass to Allen Robinson for the one-on-one ball, the go ball on 3rd down, was terrific. I mean, he is playing with the confidence of a man who feels like we deserve to go all the way.
Yeah, he really is. I was looking up what you're saying, all that, looking at the offensive stuff, because obviously got them stats. This week we were the 2nd best offense by EPA per play in the league, only bettered by Tampa. Number 3 was New York Giants, obviously, because Drew Lock. But in terms of drop back EPA, 5th behind Lamar and mixed Kenny Pickett somehow. Well, actually, no, that'd be more Tanner McKee, wouldn't it? That boosts them up. Tampa again with Baker and then Drew Lock, 0.541. So basically, what Ohio State are averaging per play right now, Goff, which is an absolute decimated Oregon. as it's 34. That's what Goff was getting with his dropbacks. 55.2% success rate. No, actually, no, it's the wrong stat. 59.5% dropback success rate. 7th best. Just everything. And that's you look at it, and then like even the rushing success rate was 5th. Offensively, yeah, we just fit environment. That's the thing is, every week now we can say this is one of Goff's best performances that he's had in Lions uniform. Like I think it was Jeremy had the stat that Goff's had a certain amount of games with a passer rating of over like 120. I think it was like 12 of them in his career. 7 of them have come this year in the Lions. Like, not to say we're a team of destiny right now, but at least the way that Goff's playing, he seems like, yeah, he's a guy that wants to go all the way. He wants to put it kind of crudely, he wants to drag his balls all over everyone's face and say, you doubted me, well, here, taste this. Because he's absolutely fucking dealing right now.
He is. The other one, the stat that comes to me is the fact that the Lions have broken the NFL record for most games with 40 points scored in a game and no turnovers, with 5, if memory serves.
Yes.
So no team has ever done that in NFL history. I know that these stats seem niche, but I guess when you are scoring enough points to score 40 points, it generally means you're throwing the ball a fair bit, which of course increases the likelihood of turnovers. So it seems niche, but I don't think it is necessarily niche. And I mean, scoring 40 points is rare for a lot of teams. Famously, there's a team that has really struggled to score 30 points this year. They happen to be the only team in the NFL to have more wins than us.
Yeah.
So, you know, scoring 40 is no gimme. And the fact that we've done it 5 times with no turnovers in those games is exceptional. What else did I have here to talk about? So Bates, he missed 2 extra points. One was the block. Chip it higher was all I've got to say on that one. But obviously the one he pulled to the left is just not a great kick. But in the context of the game, taking away the extra points, that he should never even kick the second one. But in the context of this game, the Lions hit 2 field goals. The first one was... where was it? Am I going mad? Where's the first field goal for the Lions?
Give me a sec. I can get that.
First field goal for the Lions was the second possession of the second half. So Lions down 28-21 after San Francisco, having conceded 8, go back up by 7. And it's like, crap, the Lions have got to keep pace. We must score a touchdown here. And then I think Goff eats that awful sack. Yes, he does.
Yeah.
So Goff tries to spin out that awful sack. You lose 13 yards. You trot Bates out for a 57-yarder. If he doesn't get it, the San Francisco 49ers are going to be up 7 and have the ball at their own 47-yard line. So you have to make that kick. The fact that he does, the fact that he can, is obviously huge. Then the second field goal, we're up by 3. You really want to put the hammer down and go up by more than a score. But it's 4th and 8.
Yeah.
It's 4th and 8 at the San Francisco 24, which is just a tick too far. It's only a 42-yarder, but a little bit closer. Bates not known for the short kicks. He puts that through too. In the money situations, he continues to come up big. That 57-yarder is the big one. And the situation never seems too big for him. The ones he seems to miss are those ones that seem a bit more gimme status. So I don't know if it's relaxing a bit too much or if it's just coming at him a bit quick. And we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
But in the context of the game, that big field goal maybe wins the game in the context of it all. Because if they have the ball up 7 near midfield, you could basically wave goodbye to the game.
Exactly, yeah. And it was what I mentioned earlier in comparison to Moody, where it seemed after every miss that Moody made, Shanahan was not happy at all. If anything, when Bates misses, well, obviously the first one has it blocked. Yeah, kick it higher, but great play maybe by Jordan Elliott as well. So balance out. But that second one, did you see the team or Dan or any of the coaching staff having a go at Bates? No, they're like, oh, you've missed one. It happens. We're still in this game. Just be right for the next one. We're all good. And that's what happened. While with Moody, they just let him spiral, which is not what you need to do, especially when they're confidence kickers. But yeah, it proved it. And obviously, proof that we're keeping faith in him. The fact he managed to break the single season points record for us that was held by Jason Hansen in his rookie season with us.
Yeah.
Like, this is baseline Jake Bates. Like, I don't want to put pressure on him and say next year he could better it, but next year he could better it with another year under FIP. He trusts everyone. Obviously, more time with Hogan because you can better your bottom dollar that him and Hogan will be housemating over the off season and working out together every day, getting that chemistry down, getting even more down with Fox and that. Next season, Jake Bates could be coming for that sort of kicking title, especially since you look at the guys that are traditionally above him, not exactly having great years. Like Justin Tucker has kind of fell off this year. So you're looking at maybe like Bates, Tyler Bass maybe for Buffalo, and Cameron Dicker as the best kickers in the league. Maybe Kymie Fairburn as well for Houston, but he's also having some issues. And then, of course, Brandon Aubrey for Dallas, but Dallas are going down the toilet, so who cares about them? We could legit have somehow found a free agent kicker who could turn out to be the best in the season, best in the league next season, and I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. He's an amazing pickup and just shows you what you can do when you keep the faith. Right, let's move on to stock up, stock down. Who do you want to shout out for some good stuff this week?
Wow, there's one obvious place for me to start considering. Number one, we named the show after him. Number two, I'm his biggest fan, probably on this side of the Atlantic, potentially top 5 across the world. It's the man, Kirby Joseph, who, as you quite rightly pointed out, and I made me very happy when you said it, because I was scared to say it, but you said it, so it made me happy to agree with you. Potential and should be future defensive player of the year for this season, Kirby Bloody Joseph, who took this game over by himself. And it wasn't just the interceptions, though. It was the tackling. Like, he was making the right reads time and time again on run plays, and that he was here, there, and everywhere. In fact, he actually, for someone who his big issue coming into the league as a rookie was his tackling, he led the team in tackling grade as well over Jack Campbell, who's seen as a very good tackler, and Meek, who's a very good tackling cornerback. Iffy, who his whole thing is run defense and blitzing. It was Kirby who led the team in tackling. Like, he is becoming such an all-round safety, and it's really bearing fruits now. When we needed him most, he stepped up to the plate, and long may it continue, because that will really put the stink up for Packers fans if they've been pushing this Saving McKinney narrative all season long, and then our guy comes and not steals it from underneath his nose, because it should have been him anyway, because they've been tied for the league since pretty much the start of the season. Kirby should be the defensive player of the year now that Hutch is not available.
Yeah, it's not been a standout year for any edge, so it should be given to the next best person at maybe the next best position, and I think it's got to be Kirby. Really, he's been fantastic. The other one that maybe you consider is Andrew Van Ginkel, someone like that who has been fantastic. But I know how much you love him, so I'll get off that subject quickly before we get into it. My guy that I'm going to pick to start is someone who's had to change position recently to facilitate the Lions on defense. He's been a rotational player for the majority of the season, has had to fill in bits and pieces. We have maybe played him for about less than 50% of the reps most of the year, about 25 snaps a game. Comes in for this game, plays every single snap, highest rate player on defense, great PBU at a key spot on third down, which forced the field goal, which was no good. Amit Robertson has been absolutely fantastic. He's excellent in run defense. He's great in coverage. He plays bigger than he is, to the point where he doesn't get picked on in coverage, which is fantastic to say for a guy who's 5'9-ish, 5'10". He is just not a liability despite his height, and the way he plays with a swagger is really impressive. So a kind of leader on that defense, especially when he comes out on Twitter and just blows off a bit of steam as well. I absolutely love him as a person and as a leader by example on this defense. So on a day where we struggled on defense, he was one of those standout players who really kind of stood up and was counted.
Yeah, 100%. Like, he was an underrated free agency pickup for us, because obviously I know around the same time we obviously traded for Carlton, and it was seemingly, he's a guy who, yeah, be a rotational guy, at least we're improving on Kindle Vildor, and then stuff happens where obviously we draft Terrian and we then obviously move Branch to safety and we have Mosley back and like it's going into camp. It was Carlton, Terrian, and Mosley as the starting corners, and Mosley goes down and we move over to base because we want Branch on the field as much as possible. All these factors against him were for the most part until pretty much the injury to Barnes and then everyone else, where we've had to shift more nickel to cover up weaknesses. Yeah, he was a rotational guy. He was very underrated, and now suddenly he's been thrust into this every down role, and he's taken it with a plump. And I can't remember. Oh yeah, it was definitely 2 year deal. I think it's a 2 year deal for him. I'm not cutting him in this offseason. I'm keeping him back, and if we don't bring back Carlton and we don't look elsewhere, I'll be mad at him and Terrian being our starting corners outside week 1 next year. I would not be mad at all because he fits the Aaron Glenn mold pretty much to a T. And even if Glenn goes, then whoever takes up the mantle defensive coordinator would love a player like a Miku, can play man coverage, can play zone, can play inside, can play outside. And as you said, he's great in run defense as well. He does a bit of everything that you want and plays bigger than his size. He's the perfect kind of CB2 in a way, especially at the price we've got him on.
Yeah, absolutely. Who else do you want to shout out?
Let's go. I want to shout out someone on the offense. And you know what? I have, I especially probably out of all of us have ragged on him this season for having a down year, like in terms of his career, like the worst year of his career. But coming off injury this week, when even I said when it's Dan announced that it'd be going back into his starting run after coming injury, I was saying no, we should keep Mahogany there, get him the reps. But Glasgow coming back off that injury, played pretty damn well. Like bounce back grade in terms of overall grade, run blocking especially, he was way better than he's been all season. And yeah, the pass blocking grade still wasn't exactly great, but you know, when you only give up you only give up 2 pressures on your 36 pass blocking snaps when other players like are giving up a lot more. You did pretty damn well come off the injury, and yeah, you fought off Mahogany for a bit longer. Just a great all round bounce back game for Graham, which we need next week because the 49ers defensive line is not as good as the Vikings one overall. So we need our guards to be on their A game because especially with the blitzes that the Vikings bring, we need to be good on the offensive line. So him having that bounce back game, kind of resetting the faith in him is good news.
Yeah, he had a great day bouncing back, and especially on that side of the line where Decker maybe struggled a little bit against Ito Gross-Matos, Glasgow provided a stabilising influence over there. So it's good to have those 2 guys there because when one has a down game, maybe the other one has a bit of a better game and they kind of balance each other out a little bit, which is great. The other guy I'm going to shout out today is Sam Laporta. He really has started to hit his stride. I think he's finally over the injury that he sustained at the end of last season and through camp. He had a kind of little setback, I think, and I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He just seemed to be that emergency valve we needed every single time, and he made some key catches where he was covered really well, but he seemed to get free very often. His route running was excellent. There was the 1 rep on the 4th down I've already mentioned where he was free. He seemed to get loads of yards after the catch. He had the missed catch in the end zone on the 4th down, which was a turnover on downs. That wasn't on him. It was a great play by Renato Green. He's turned the corner, so when he had the injury bothering him, we were kind of holding him out of it quite a bit. And then even after then, it was taking him a while to kind of warm back up to his Pro Bowl rookie year that he had last year as Oregon finally get a touchdown. He's back to that form. And, you know, he was almost 1,000-yard receiver last year. And we should be expecting him to be that guy going forward and into the playoffs. And, you know, you've got guys like Amon-Ra, you've got now JMO that everyone's going to have to be worried about going into this playoffs. And when you have someone like Sam Laporta who can be that emergency valve along with Gibbs, it means that this offense, if the offensive line holds up against some good defensive lines, they're going to be pretty unbeatable. I mean, people are talking about how is this team going to hold up against some of these defenses that are going to come at us. But the counter to it, I think, has to, how's our defense going to hold up to some of their offenses? And it's like, well, how are theirs going to hold up to ours? I mean, I don't see with all of these weapons, especially if Sam Laporte down the stretch comes good, how are they going to live with this? I don't. It's all down to this offensive line because we've seen what happens when Jared Goff gets under a lot of pressure.
Flustered.
It's not even flustered. It's more like he can eat the sacks that he can, or he can turf things very well. Like, he's got much better with throwing the ball away when he's under pressure. But the fact that he's getting under pressure and having to throw plays away sometimes is one of the things which has killed us a little bit. Against the Bills, the first 3 possessions, we don't get a score. And that's all down to some of the pressure up front. Ed Oliver just completely ruining Frank. Yeah. And that's how we're going to lose games, is our offensive line. And I mean, it's harsh to say that because our defense needs to do a bit more too, but they did. They had such a good start to the year. We were one of the league's best defenses, and then all of this has happened. Hopefully, Anzalone coming back helps in that regard. Maybe Hutch will come back and that will help even more. But if the offensive line holds up, people like Laporte are the reason why we're going to be a menace for anyone in the playoffs, and they should all fear us.
Yeah, 100%, to the point where with this game against the Niners, Sam entered some vaunted annals in terms of tight ends in history because he became the 4th ever one in NFL history to record over 1,500 receiving yards and 15 receiving touchdowns through the first 2 career seasons, joining Mike Ditka in 61-62 and then Jimmy Graham and Gronk in 2010-2011. Something that other great tight ends never did. Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, Travis Kelce, all these great tight ends. Laporte is doing something that even they're doing in offenses where he's not even the main option. Sometimes he's not even option 3, but he's still doing it. I know obviously he had down the year to start the year, but really back to back. And we're going to need him kind of like we did last year, as you say, because especially against the Vikings, they love to blitz their linebackers. Who better to throw to fill the gap with the man and the ball than Laporte? If they do bring Ivan Pace Jr. blitz like they did against the Packers, as we'll mention on Friday, having Laporte kind of just do a 5-10 yard hook right into that area beat them at their own game, which is what we need to do. Yeah. And he's going to be key to that. He's going to be key against, I don't know, if things go wrong and we have to face the Bucs. Blitzing defense, Laporte will eat there. He's just great. And the blocking's got better as well. As you said, like the fencing off he had for some of the touchdowns, just great. And that was his big weakness kind of last year in a way, despite being 10-10, was that blocking a bit. It's improved so much this year. He's become a real all-round tight end, which is great.
It is. Right. We've shouted out some people after a really great game, entertaining one all the way through. So let's talk about the rest of last week's slate. We will do the previews for this week's slate coming and also the Vikings game in a couple of days. In the preview show for this game, we talked about Chiefs, Steelers, Ravens, Texans, and Seahawks, Bears. So moving on to the games on the day of our preview show, Chargers, Patriots, and Broncos, Bengals, starting with the less competitive Chargers, Patriots. We had thought maybe that the Patriots could be competitive in this game, but the Chargers got out to a 20-7 halftime lead and then scored another 20-0. The Patriots slightly humbled in Foxborough. Only one of 2 games in this window, and Herbert 26 of 38 for 281. 3 touchdowns, no picks. Drake May, 12 of 22 for 117 and a touchdown. He also was 6 for 32 on the ground, but took a sickening hit and had to go out of the game. Jacoby Brissett came in and threw 1 of 2 for -2. You never want to see someone, especially Drake May, taking those sorts of hits because, well, it's a lost season for the Pats, and, you really want to preserve the fact that he can play for years to come. Patriots now are the number 1 draft pick after a win for the New York Giants, and a loss in week 18 will give them the number 1 overall pick. So, Ash, good days by Herbert. Lab McConkey got another 2 touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins got 1 on the ground. Darius Davis had a good one too. Great day for the Chargers, who lock up their playoff status.
Yeah, 100%. Of course, you mentioned Lad. He did have a really good game, though. Still, still not top 5-10 players in the draft class. Good though, but maybe as things go on, maybe I can be persuaded. But it was a good day for the defense as well. I know, obviously, Molden unfortunately had to go on IR for the Chargers, which is a big miss for them. He's kind of like their Brian Branch, but lesser than Branch, obviously. him being a big miss for them is going to hurt. But obviously they've got Tony Jefferson, who's a veteran guy, who could kind of step in there. But it was just a good all-round day for them. As for the Patriots, yeah, it was really bad to see May take that hit. Like, I loved him in this draft class, obviously. From my QB1 team, him take that was very bad. But it's just, that's what happens when you can't run the ball and, you don't really have a consistent receiver. Like, you look at the guys, they had 4 guys catch the ball, but then another 5 who got targets, and none of those, actually, yeah, those 5 caught any of their targets. Hunter Henry targeted twice, 0 catches. Antonio Gibson, 1 for 0. Polk, 1 for 0. Ramondre Stevenson, 1 for 0. Javon Baker, who I profiled for us, 1 for 0. When you've only got 3 guys catch the ball and, they're not exactly the best. Like Demario Douglas, I know I had him in fancy. He got a touchdown. That's great. But, he's not exactly a great receiver. Kishon Butte, with his injury and all that, 4 catches as well. It's just, there was a lack of explosive offense for them where couldn't run the ball, so a charge could just pass rush, and it really worked for them. So Patriots, I kind of do hope they lose this. They do lose this week, just so they can get first over pick. And I know it's not exactly a great QB class, but someone will probably want to trade up just to make sure they can get their guy. Hopefully, they can get back into a reasonable position to take someone like, I don't know, Will Campbell or Calvin Banks or Travis Hunter, just someone to help May, because they need help on offense. They really do. Like, defensively, I know obviously the Chargers scored 40, but they've still got some good players in there. Like Javale Tavai, I know we kind of hate him a bit for what happened with us, but it's not his fault. Patricia overdrafted him. Cole Duggar's a good player. Devin Godshaw's a good player. Young Takitaki's a good player. They've got good players there. They just need an offense that doesn't go free and out so often that they're playing like 120 million snaps. That would really help them. So hopefully they can lose against a relatively resting Buffalo team and secure that first overall pick and at least a couple more picks with whatever trade down they'll get.
Be interesting to see if the head coach keeps his job after this, because it was a very, very poor loss. But yes. Moving on to the next game, and maybe the game of the year, Broncos, Bengals. Everything on the line for these teams. A Broncos win sews up their playoff spot. A Bengals win keeps them in the hunt. And somehow, some way, the Bengals pull out this victory, 30-24, including a back and forth fourth quarter, going into it 10-10, 14 points scored each, including a last-ditch Broncos touchdown at the end of the game before Cincinnati finally score a touchdown to win it. Burrow was incredible, 39 of 49 for 412 and 3 touchdowns. All 3 went to T. Higgins, 11 of 12 for 131 and a touchdown. Burrow also had a rushing touchdown on the ground, 4 for 25 and a touchdown for him. But Bo Nix was equally impressive in spots, especially in the clutch, 24 of 31 for 219, 3 touchdowns and a pick. 2 of those were to Marvin Mims, he was 8 of 8 for 103, and the other to Cortland Sutton, 5 of 9 for 55 and a touchdown. T. Higgins had a fumble which was lost, which offset the fact that Nix had a fumble himself, so they were equal in the turnover battle. Lots of sacks in this game. I mean, Zach Allen was an absolute terror, had 3.5 sacks on the day and 7 total for the Denver defense. Cincinnati seem all at sea sometimes. 8-8 after this result. Still only have about 10-15% chance of getting into the playoffs, because not only do they have to win, but they need help from 2 other teams to get in. I think it's they need a Denver and Miami loss in order to give them a chance to get in. But regardless, it's interesting to see how this is coming together, because Burrow is having an MVP season, but he's just not going to win because of how poor they've been on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, you're kind of screwed when you're having to count on Carson Wentz and Snoop Huntley to win games for you to get in the playoffs. You really are. Because that's what's happening, because obviously Denver are going up against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs have announced today that Carson Wentz will be starting. They're probably sending a lot of starters, and obviously the Dolphins, they've announced that Snoop Huntley will probably be starting for them on Sunday because, Tua's still injured. So that's a bit rough. Fair play to Jermaine Pratt for getting the interception as well, showing a bit of life for that Bengals defense that continues to be absolutely shit. How can you be this bad when you've got Trey Hendrickson on there? You've got the guy who led the league in interceptions last year, and Geno Stone in this perfect kind of scheme for him. just shocking. And it just shows that the more it goes on, T. Higgins is actually probably not going to be a Bengal because they'll refuse to pay him because they're cheap bastards. They'll tag him, they'll trade him. Joe Burrow will get pissed off and it'll start going to shit for them. They, as much as I love the Bengals, they are like one of my favorite teams in the league, that not the Lions. They are in a bad spot right now, and that's not good. Like, if anything, them being here right now where they are in terms of ranking the league and draft order is not going to help them because they need help on that defense, and drafting around 16th to 20th, depending if they get their playoffs or not, is not going to help them at all because they'll miss out potentially on the like real star edge rushers or a really good corner who's healthy. Maybe they can draft like Siobhan Rivell or someone like that, but they're injured. They're not really going to help you day one. They need day one help on that defense, and they just won't get it where they are. And as for Denver, well, yeah, really good for a team that, well, at least I thought wasn't going to be good this year. So obviously, starting Bo Nix, who been here, there, and everywhere in college, and Sean Payton, who's kind of been there, done that, and not a lot seemingly on offense, and a defense that can do some stuff, but it wasn't exactly great. For them to be where they are right now, where 9-7, not exactly in a great spot, there probably will be they'll be a wild card team, obviously, but they've got real positive to build on for next year. Get a couple more offensive weapons around Nix, get him a running back who can actually run the ball. And I'm not saying they could knock off the Chiefs next year, but they could do some damage to some real teams and shock some people.
Moving on to the next one, which is Cardinals-Rams. Rams needed to win to lock up their division win, and they did that 13-9. They improved to 10-6 on the year. They needed other results to help them, and they got that later on. 13-9, which featured in the very last play of the game, first down and goal for the Cardinals from the 5, an interception by Akello Witherspoon at their own 1. So this was a tight game, which was won in the tightest possible way. 13-9, as you can imagine, it wasn't exactly the best game in the world, if you like offense at least. Stafford 17-32 for 189. He was also 6 for 16 on the ground, so if you like Matthew Stafford rushing overs, then congrats. Kyron Williams had an okay day on the ground, 13 for 56 and a touchdown. Puka did Puka things, 10 of 14 for 129. For the Cardinals, it's just thrown away a bit by them, unfortunately. Murray, 33 of 48 for 321, a touchdown, but 2 picks, unfortunately. Michael Carter had a really good day, 13 for 70. He has now been signed to their main roster after James Conner, who was 4 carries for 4 yards, has been put on IR. He's done for the season. Trey McBride did get a touchdown, so he has broken his streak of being one of the best, having the highest yards in the year without having scored a touchdown. He's now broken that. So 12 of 16 for 123 and a touchdown. He is. Otherwise, the Cardinals didn't get a sack, and the LA Rams did. They got 4, including 2 for Braden Fisk and 1 for Cody Turner. So they did some really good stuff up front. Ash, it was a gritty game, and it was there for the Cardinals to get the victory and potentially just about stay alive. No, they were done, I think, weren't they?
Yeah, I think it was.
I can't think. Maybe they would have been done because of other results, but if they'd won here, they might have been able to stay alive. So, yeah. Anyway, no, if you thought the Rams were going to do bits in the playoffs, this isn't exactly adding much to your arsenal.
It's really not, but at the same time, it is at the same time because it showed that defense can be really good. Like, I know, obviously, the Cardinals aren't the best offense, but they've got pieces like Kyler, who's a really good QB on his day. They can run the ball. Obviously, the injury to Connor hurt them, and so it was the fact they had Trey Benson inactive. But they can get the ball to people. Obviously, Trey McBride is one of the best tight ends in the league. I know, obviously, as you mentioned, he had that target streak without a touchdown that's finally snapped. My fantasy team thanks you, Kyler Murray. But Marvin Harrison had a kind of underrated day. I know 10 targets, 6 catches for 96 yards. Doesn't sound a lot, but 16 yards a catch is pretty damn good. Jay Jones having 19 yards on his 1 catch, 1 target. Michael Wilson did some things. Like, they've got a really good offense. And the fact that the Rams were able to hold them to like little points when Kyler's passing for 320 yards, they've got over 100 yards on the ground. They'll score basically field goals. That's really damn good. As much as I like to rag on certain Rams because of their allegiances, like Cameron Kitchens. They did really good. Braden Fisk, obviously, I loved coming out of FSU first, did some stuff as well. Kobe Turner, I loved last year. Even Brennan Jackson, who only got one tackle, showing some stuff as a late round edge guy that I liked as well. That Rams defense has really stepped up. And if they compare this kind of defensive performance with a better offensive day, they can shock people. They could be like the Packers were last year to the Dallas Cowboys. Hopefully, I hope they do that too. I know they'll probably be the 4 seed, probably.
So the Rams have benched Matthew Stafford for week 18, which means Jimmy G is coming in. If the Rams lose and the Bucks win, the Bucks will be the 3rd seed and the Rams will be the 4th seed. Yes.
Yeah. So I know they'll be doing that. So they'll probably play 5th, which will probably be the Vikings, you'd hope. I could see if they have this kind of defensive day and a good offensive day, I could see them shocking the Vikings, to be honest, if that happens. But of course, remains to be seen. As for the Cardinals, they also didn't have a bad defensive day. Like, got some guys stepping up to Garrett Williams again, someone I loved. But even then, Dante Stills, the West Virginia edge slash defense line, had a good day. So did Max Melton, DTD having a good day at safety as well. Baron Browning, who pick up from the Broncos you just mentioned, he also had a really good day. Starling Thomas, the former guy that everyone loved in training camp last year, a good day. They had a good defense day as well. It's just, they couldn't really execute on offense, and it's something they need to work on. For as much as they detracted on their head coach try when they made it, he really has fixed that defense. Now it's time for them to fix the offense. And again, this could be a team next year to do the right kind of moves that could shock some teams. And I'm 100% here for it, because both me and you called Kyler a dark horse MVP candidate at the start of the year because he does have that potential. It's time for him to realize that.
Moving on to the next one, Jets 14, Bills 40. Bills really didn't have to do much in order to win this one. Quite funny, really. Josh Allen, 16 of 27 for 182 and a touchdown. And then Mitch Trubisky comes in for one throw, one attempt, one completion, 69 yards and a touchdown. Crazy. James Cook went 15 for 53 and a touchdown on the ground. Josh Allen, 5 for 17 and a touchdown on the ground. Their receiving touchdowns, the 69-yarder from Trubisky was caught by Tyrell Shavers for a 69-yard touchdown. Otherwise, Amari Cooper's 3 of 3 for 56 and a touchdown, and Keon Coleman beasted a man. 3 of 7, not ideal, but 27 yards and a touchdown for him. New York were an embarrassment to football, no strangers to that. 12 of 18 for Aaron Rodgers for 112 and 2 picks. Tyrod Taylor came in and looked like the much better quarterback, 11 for 14, 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. They got nothing going on the ground, despite having 112 yards on the ground. But Breece Hall, 10 carries for 45 yards. Isaiah Davis did a little bit, 3 for 35. Braylon Allen, 6 for 26. It's just all kind of yikes, really, when they didn't need it. Garrett Wilson did have a good rebound day, 7 of 8 for 66 and a touchdown. Tyler Conklin as well from tight end, 8 of 8 for 57 and a touchdown. Devontae Adams looks like he's played his last game as a Jet, 5 of 8 for 47. And it looks like Rodgers might be having his last game of his career this coming weekend. Let's see. But fingers crossed for it. Otherwise, not a lot to write home about in this game. 4 sacks for the Bills, none for that vaunted Jets defense. 2 picks for Buffalo, 1 by Christian Benford, 1 by Jordan Phillips. We know how good Benford is. We saw that. Not a lot for Ty Johnson, which feels like a shame considering what he did to us, but there we go. Ash, the Bills made a mockery of the Jets in an in-division clash.
Yeah, they really did. Like, I'm going to start obviously with the obvious place for this. Keon, welcome to the Keon experience, where you get some really good plays and you get some drops. That's what you have to put up with, unfortunately. It's probably the reason that we weren't as high as him as I was, because the dropsies, but unfortunately that's what I have to live with him. The one that really hurts is Khalil Shakir. You nearly cost me fantasy final, my friend. I will not forgive you ever. But yeah, just the Jets defense. But you say they've wanted Jets defense when, you know, one of their 4 tackles for loss and they've gotten a lot of snaps from number 98, aka Bruce Hector, who used to be on our practice squad. When he's one of your biggest players on defense for the day, you're fucked. When you've got Chaz Surratt getting big plays, you're fucked. Like, they're done for. Like, But dare I say, Will McDonald has been an absolute bust of a first round pick at this point. No tackles, just two QB hits is good, but that's not to disparage the guy, but that's basically James Houston performance. Not good. Just the Jets are a mess. And again, they're in that position because they've got 4 wins that they're probably not going to get a decent draft pick to draft a new QB, which means they're going to be on the market for a free agent one. They're going to have to do all this again. They're up shit's creek without a paddle right now, and with the way their owner is trusting his son to discuss trades and basing it off Madden ratings. Like, as much as I like to look at Madden ratings and then to bring it to English football when players like links with signing somewhere, I look at their FIFA card. I don't mean it's actually going to reflect real life. I know it's bullshit ratings, but the Jets are just done. The Bills are cruising and they're going to rest all this guys. Suppose I know Alan's paying a few series against the Patriots supposedly, but they're probably going to rest everyone with the second seed locked up. And it's probably going to be a nice ding-dong battle between them and the Chiefs for the AFC Championship. I can't wait to see it and see what obscure rule means that the one team loses.
I'll push back a little bit on Will McDonald. 10 sacks this season is a fairly good return. He's not been fantastic, but he's not been an absolute bust. But yes, fair point on the Jets in general. Moving on to the next one, Raiders at Saints. Raiders walk out 25-10 victors, and it was a 1-point spread this game to start. Aidan O'Connell, I mean, the man's a changed person since he came back off injured reserve. Got injured earlier in the year. They were starting someone else who got injured as well. Went to the former Atlanta Falcons quarterback
Desmond
pick.
Ridder.
Thank you. And then Aidan O'Connell's come back, and he's been absolutely brilliant. 20 of 35 for 242, 2 touchdowns, no picks for him. Spencer Rattler isn't quite there yet, but looked better than he had done in previous games. 20 of 36 for 218, a touchdown, 2 picks. He also had 3 for 46 on the ground, which was 46 of the Saints' 81 total rushing yards. I mean, they were all outpaced by Amir Abdullah on the Vegas side. He had 20 carries for 115 yards, and he also had 3 or 4 for 32 yards. I am here for Amir Abdullah putting up that sort of yards at this stage of his career. It's fantastic stuff. Otherwise, Brock Bowers continued his amazing season, 7 of 7 for 77. And Jacoby Myers, 5 of 9 for 61 and a touchdown. Fairly comfortable for the Raiders after all of that, Ash. Oh, he's dropped off. Never mind. I'll come back to him in just a moment. So the Saints also had 2 fumbles. Neither were lost. In terms of sacks, the Vegas defense had 4. Robert Spillane had one of those who had a really good day. I think Clavion Chason actually had a... Did he not have the pick? No. Vegas interceptions. Thomas Harper, never heard of him at all. And Jack Jones, who had a good day. Nothing else to write home about there, really. Matthew Habel, it's a name I've never said before, was the punter for New Orleans, and he had 7 total punts for 330 yards. Man was utilised quite a bit, including a long of 64 yards. Saints fall to 5-11. Their season is very much over, but the Raiders are behind them. That victory takes them to 4-12. They got that victory, obviously, in the Superdome. Yeah, so that's basically that on that one. I'll move on to the next game, which is the Colts at the Giants. And what a funny game this is. So the Giants were in prime position to have the number 1 overall pick. All they needed to do was lose out. And the first game was a game against the Colts, who wanted to continue to chase them being in playoff contention. A win here meant they were taking it to week 18, and they absolutely shat the bed. So they did not have the starting quarterback. They were starting Joe Flacco instead. Flacco went 26 of 38 for 332 touchdowns, 2 picks. Not the worst outing in the world ever. Jonathan Taylor as well. They ran him into the ground. 32 carries for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman both went over 100 yards with a touchdown, but Flacco did have a fumble as well as the 2 interceptions, one by Drew Phillips, one by Dane Belton. But this was one of the best quarterback performances of ever by Drew Lock. He was brilliant. 17 of 23 for 309 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also had 5 carries for no yards and a rushing touchdown of 5 yards. Malik Neighbors continued to have an incredible season, 7 of 8 for 171 and 2 touchdowns. Wandale Robinson was 5 of 6 for 71 and a touchdown, and Darius Slayton 1 of 3 for 32 and a touchdown. The Giants just continued to stay ahead and kept pushing it. They won every single quarter bar the third, and the Colts looked like they were kind of coming back into it late. And the Giants put the hammer down again. It would have been easy in their position to kind of fold and go, you know what, I kind of wanted to lose anyway. The Colts kept biting back. They were in a big hole. It was 28-13 because of a kickoff return by Ismail Smith-Marset to start the second half. It's a 15-point hole. The Colts kept coming back. It was a 2-point game after a Colts touchdown with 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. But the Giants kept scoring. Colts scored. Giants scored again. Then a pick. Field goal makes it end the game. You know, congrats to the Giants because they've played really hard down the stretch. They just kind of lack the horses. And the Colts, well, they've done this before. You know, they have been in positions where they need to get wins late in order to stay in playoff contention or clinch a playoff spot. They've shat the bed. This was another example of that. So, you know, you can't say it's not deserved in some ways. And well done to Drew Lock because it's not been the easiest of seasons for him with everything that's been going on there with Daniel Jones. And then he was the third quarterback for a while and he's come on and he gave that sort of performance. It's going to put him in the shop window for next season for other teams. Moving on to the Cowboys and the Eagles, and people thought this one might have been close, I included, but it wasn't. What a weird game. I mean, Cooper Rush didn't have his best. He was 15 of 28 for 147, a touchdown and 2 picks. They had 127 yards on the ground, including 100 yards by Rico Dowdle, but it was about 4 yards a carry, which is not brilliant. Philadelphia, though, were excellent on offense. And, I mean, they only had less than 200 yards passing, but Kenny Pickett was 10 of 15 for 143 and a touchdown, and Tanner McKee came in relief when they were way ahead. And he was 3 of 4 for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns. But this was another Saquon Barkley game. He was 31 carries for 167 yards, ended up breaking 2,000 yards on the season. Great milestone, although apparently he's being held out for next week, which denies him the opportunity to break the rushing record. I'm sure he won't be happy with that. Another good day by Devonta Smith, rebounding after the drop he had the week before. He was 6 of 7 for 120 and 2 touchdowns, and A.J. Brown 3 of 5 for 36 and a touchdown. Looks like the Eagles are going to be without Jalen Hurts going into next week's game. I think they might have sat him anyway because they're really not playing for anything against the Giants next week. Another opportunity for the Giants maybe to get a win in that case. The fumbles, there were 2 of them for Dallas, one by Rico Dowdle, one by Jake Ferguson, recovered by Jordan Davis and Cooper DeJean. And then the 2 interceptions, both by CJ Gardner-Johnson. One was a pick 6. That's really what allowed the Eagles to get out of such a big lead. And another humbling result for the Dallas Cowboys. They've had a few of those, most notably against us. Next game up is Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucks run out 48-14 victors. It was 27-14 at the end of the first half, and the Bucks scored 21 points unanswered in the second half. Baker Mayfield was perfect, 27 of 32 for 359 and 5 touchdowns. Not quite a perfect passer rating, 153 for Baker Mayfield. For Bryce Young, he went 15 of 28 for 203 and 2 touchdowns. Tampa Bay also had 200 on the ground, 202, including 113 for Bucky Irving, and a great performance by him. Thielen continued to have a really great performance, as he has done down the stretch for the Panthers, 5 of 6 for 110 and 2 touchdowns. And otherwise for the Bucks, they had 2 for Evans, 2 for McMillan, and 1 for Payne Durham. Carolina sort of fumbled the ball twice, although they got both back. Big performance by the Bucks to go ahead in the NFC South playoff race. They only need to win next week and they will be in. And as we just discussed, if they win and the Rams lose, they will be the 3 seed as well. They are playing the Saints, who have the opportunity to play spoiler. If the Saints get a win here and the Falcons win their game, then the Falcons will go to the playoffs. So it's still all up for grabs in the NFC South as we welcome back in Ash after his internet difficulties. Tampa Bay are such an odd team, aren't they, man? Because they lost to the Cowboys last week, who got destroyed by Philly. But this team destroyed the Chargers, destroyed the Raiders, but then only won a very narrow game against the Panthers, destroyed the Giants, lost narrow games to the 49ers, who we know aren't the best team in the world, lost narrowly to the Chiefs, but maybe should have won that game, lost narrowly to the Falcons, who they've been swept by, but then can beat people like the Panthers, who've had a good run of games the last week and a half, month and a half, by 34 points. Just weird. And, when Baker's on, he's on.
Yeah, well, case in point, you say no, we're a team. The fact that week 2 they beat us, week 3 they lose to the Broncos. Just swings and roundabouts for this team. I love how, because as soon as you're joining, it's you bigging up the 2 people that really helped you beat me in fantasy this week with Bucky Irving and Adam Freeland. Way to really rub that in, But yeah, Panthers showing glimpses on offense. Bryce Young, one thing I've really seen from this year, and I saw it a bit in this game because obviously Tampa loves the blitz. He's got so much better against sort of reading the blitz, replacing the man with the ball, making the right decisions, having a reliable safety blanket like Freeland. Freeland's never going to be like a wide receiver one like Justin Jefferson, like Stephon Diggs, the guys he had to play next to in Minnesota. But he's a good, reliable wide receiver who can play the sort of slot and the Z positions. And it proves here, like, you've got him, at least for now. I know obviously halfway through the season, people say trade him, he's been horrible, but his revitalizations come at the same time that the Carolina's revitalization on offense has happened. So maybe they're tied together. Maybe this is kind of like their version of the Josh Reynolds signing for us in year 1 of the regime for us. Maybe. As for Tampa, when they're on, they're an offensive juggernaut. And when that defense is on as well, holding Carolina, who are, resurgent team on offense, to 14 points is pretty damn good. Damn good game from Zion McCollum with his pass defense, 6 tackles. Logan Hall having a good day. Your guy Yaya Diaby having a good day as well. Just they did what they needed to do, and I kind of don't hope they win next week because out of them and the Falcons look eminently more beatable, despite the Falcons beating the Bucs twice. They just do because Kirk's obviously done now, and their rookie guy, whatever team they face, will be able to pick on them. And I know obviously they've got a good safety duo, they've got some good pieces on that defense, their defensive head coach, but they're probably going to be one if they make it in as the 3 seed, depending on what happens with the Rams game. The Falcons, if they make it, they get bouncing out. The Tampa, they have a chance. They showed it last year where they had to go to Philly and they beat them and then got beat by us pretty narrowly. Tampa could do some damage in the playoffs if it's them that make it next week.
They're going to be a team like us 2 years ago that no one really wants to face because you're not really sure which Tampa team you're going to face. You could face Tampa and you could blow them away. You could blow them away by 20, 25 points. Equally, they could absolutely hand it to you as well, and you never really know which team's going to show up for them. So I don't think they're going to go all the way. I don't see them as serious contenders, but could they knock off any team in the NFC? Sure, absolutely they could. They could beat Philly. I definitely see that. Yeah. Philly with Jalen Hurts. I think that's exactly the sort of team that could hand Philly a loss. So be interesting to see what happens with that. Anyway, moving on, we have the Titans at the Jags, and the Jags in the battle of the bottom for the AFC South and the AFC in general win 20-13 with Mac Jones having a good day, 15-22 for 174 and 2 touchdowns. Mason Rudolph, not his best, 19-31 for 193, a touchdown and a pick. Good day for Tyjae Spears, 20 for 95 on the ground in a 159-yard outing for the Tennessee Titans on rushing offense. Jacksonville had 122 themselves, including not great rushing stats by anyone apart from Brian Thomas, who managed to get 1 carry for 18 yards to boost their figures a little bit. Good year continued for Brian Thomas Jr., 7 of 10 for 91 and a touchdown. Otherwise, Tennessee had 2 fumbles, which they recovered both, so nothing to write home about there. Devin Lloyd had the pick for Jacksonville. They were playing for draft position, and the Titans, although they lost the game, I guess, won when it comes to draft order. But the Jags get some pride back, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Like, the rushing, it reeks of us, but in a bad way. Obviously, splitting the carries pretty much 50-50 with Etienne getting 15, Bigsby getting 11. They've got the right kind of approach. It's just just wasn't the day for them. Obviously, 3.3 for Etienne, 3 for Bigsby. That's not exactly great. But there's pieces there that you can take into next year. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. just having a great rookie season for them. What a pick he was for them. Brenton Strange, I know earlier he had one target, no catches, but he looked good as well the past couple of weeks. Parker Washington, as a sort of wide receiver 4 or 5, you can do worse. It was just so Jacksonville, they still need a lot of work, but there's pieces there you can take into next year. With T-Law hopefully coming back, they might have a bit more upside on offense. And defensively, there's some really good performances as well. As you say, like Olowokun just doing what he always does and getting a lot of tackles. Andre Cisco having a really damn good game. Devon Lloyd obviously getting the pick and getting some tackles. Hines Allen getting a sack and another TFL. Jaron Jones, a slot corner, showing why, people should have been a bit higher than him as a starting slot. Tennessee let me down, though. I said in the preview, Tennessee's defense is a lot better. They'll be able to really restrict the Jags and win the game for Tennessee. And they kind of did. They came 20 points, which is respectable, but, it wasn't enough. The only bright spark, really, for the Titans over the entire Jay Spears was Chika Kwonkwo continuing his breakout. As soon as, I give up on him, don't want to talk about him, or don't want to draft him in fantasy, suddenly he's picking up, 17-yard rushes and getting 5 catches, 42 yards. There's again someone they can take into next year. Him, Josh Wiley, that's a good tight end duo. They've got a good running back. Calvin Ridley's there. Nick Westbrookini is a damn good deep threat kind of big play guy. They've got, again, pieces taken there. They just need to sort the QB out, maybe fix the offensive line a bit more and get a few more defensive pieces. So these are both, again, teams that can take positives from this game no matter the outcome, and then hopefully restacking next year. Maybe some things happen to the Texans where they don't retain all the defensive talents, and they could be contenders next year. They really could be at AFC South, because AFC South is not exactly the best division in football. It's also not the worst.
It's not the worst. Right, let's move on. Dolphins and Browns in one of the worst games of the week. Miami didn't have Tua, and it looks like they might not have him next week, but they stay alive in the AFC playoff race to go to 8-8. Tyler Huntley in relief was 22 of 26 with 225 and a touchdown. He was also 7 for 52 and a touchdown on the ground. The rest of them only got 22 rushing yards combined, although that included a loss of 11 by Malik Washington. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was the quarterback for Cleveland Browns, and he had 24 of 47 for 170 and a pick. On the ground, they only had 114 yards, which was on 28 carries, so not ideal. But Pierre Strong Jr. had himself a good day with 5 carries for 33 yards. In the receiving game, Tyreek Hill had a bounce-back game, 9 of 9 for 105. And Jonnu Smith didn't have as many receptions as he does normally, but he did get a touchdown, 3 of 4 for 26. Otherwise, Dorian Thompson-Robinson had a fumble, which he lost, recovered by former Lion Deshaun Hand. Tyler Huntley had one, which he recovered himself. Otherwise, Tyrell Dotson had the interception on Dorian Thompson-Robinson in a game which just wasn't competitive.
Yeah, this was the real shit-off, wasn't it? And as you say, Snoop Huntley seemingly will be the start again for Miami, which is going to be fun for them. But Tyreek Hill had a kind of bounce-back game because he's not had the season of the standards that we're used to from him. He's kind of fallen off a bit this year, though. Obviously, all the QB and stableness there hasn't really helped him. The fact they've gone from Tua to Tyler Huntley to the guy, Skylar Thompson, back to Tua, Tyler Huntley again. It's not really been a great environment for any receiver there. Just ask Anton how Jalen Waddle did for his fantasy team this year. But they had to, the blown up play from Willie Washington trying to do on us, and it doesn't work. I see you, Mike McDaniel. You're trying to copy the true offensive genius in the league. You need better players than that. They didn't. Miami's defense didn't, more than enough, obviously holding them to 3 points with former Lions Deshaun Hand and Benito Jones really making some big plays for them. That's how they're kind of done for. As for Cleveland, they had a good couple of rushes. So Jordan Ford, 19-yard rush. Pierce Strong Jr. had a 19-yard rush. Jerry Jeudy continuing to be force-fed the ball, obviously did well. But that defense just fell apart. Jim Schwartz supposed to be one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, and you can't even, do too much against Tyler Huntley and a fallen off Dolphins team. Grant Delpit kind of showing that first round buzz he had for a bit in his draft class before he got injured. they had some good performances, but it just didn't come together for them. And holding the Miami T20 on a good day with that 2-0, their weapons would be respectable. But when you're going up against basically their third, like their 2.5 string QB and most of their weapons missing, it's not as respectable. So they need to sort some stuff out, especially if Garrett, follows through on his threats and demands a trade, because then they'll be really up shit's creek.
Or maybe it'll be the best thing for the franchise because they need to recover some picks somehow. And if he doesn't go, then where is the franchise going when he retires? So, like Stafford leaving the Lions, Garrett leaving might be the best thing for both parties. Anyway, moving on to the next game, which is one which we actually watched live on this channel. Vikings at home over the Packers 27-25, which was 27-10 going into the fourth quarter, but Green Bay scored 15 in the fourth quarter to make it interesting. Sam Darnold had another really good day, 33 of 43 for 377, 3 touchdowns and 1 pick. Minnesota didn't really get much going on the ground, had 26 for 69, but it included 3 kneel downs for Darnold. That would have been 23 for 72, otherwise it's still not setting the world alight. Aaron Jones did get injured towards the end of the game. He was 12 for 47. Apparently he will be good to go on Sunday against the Lions. In the receiving game for the Vikings, Jefferson was unguardable, 8 of 11 for 92. Jalen Naylor moved the chains basically with every catch, 5 of 5 for 81 and a touchdown. And Addison was a great foil as a third receiver, 6 for 8 for 69 and a touchdown. TJ Hawkinson as well had over 60 yards, 5 of 6 for 68. And then Cam Akers had a receiving touchdown too, 2 of 3 for 15 and a touchdown. And they needed every point in the end. Green Bay, ultimately disappointing, especially at quarterback. Jordan Love, 19 of 30 for 185 and a touchdown, no picks, but was just borderline poor on the day. They didn't feed Josh Jacobs enough, who was fairly impressive apart from an early fumble. He was 17 for 69 and a touchdown on the ground. And Emmanuel Wilson in relief was 6 for 29 and a touchdown too. Only 2 receivers over 50 yards. Romeo Dobbs, 7 of 11 for 58. Tucker Kraft, 2 of 3 for 53. Dontavian Wicks did okay too, 4 of 5 for 43. But he had a key drop, I think, in there and a penalty as well, which set them back. What was ultimately disappointing, Ash, was that Green Bay, who really brought it against us up front, really stopped our running game and put pressure on Jared Goff, showed absolutely none of that against Sam Darnold, who basically had free reign to pick this defense apart, and he did just that.
Yeah, they really did. It's almost as Matt LaFleur's pettiness fell so far. It's like, yeah, the team's going to play shit this week just to really spite the Lions. Like, you could see the pettiness with him benching Dontavius Wicks after that drop for a bit, benching Josh Jacobs and basically not running the ball for a half just because he fumbles the ball. He's a petty little motherfucker, isn't he? But as we'll come on to on Friday, there were a few things that Green Bay did, especially in that second half and that fourth quarter, that we can bring on board and take advantage ourselves. But yeah, the Vikings just went into an early lead and could kind of keep it there because of how good their defense is. Like, obviously, down even to the first play of the game where Ivan Pace Jr. makes a great run blitz and gets a tackle for loss. They just set the tone from point one to point finish pretty much. Like, Blake Cashman showing why I was right when I said that would be a very underrated linebacker signing for them. Andrew Van Ginkel, as you alluded to earlier, I love that signing for them. And again, he made some good plays for them. Hell, Jared Tillery made a play against the run. That's how good the Vikings defensive coaching is. Someone who was drafted in the first round and was basically seen as your pass rush only after his second year because he's just a liability against the run. Forced a fumble on Josh Jacobs, who's one of the best running backs in the league. That's pretty damn good. Like, there's pieces there on that Vikings defense. They did what they needed to do against the Packers team, made them uncomfortable the first half, second half, basically went to the prevent. That's how the Packers came back. So fuck you, Packers, for, getting me all dressed up in my nice Aston Martin shirt. I was drinking green drinks and cheering you on, and you couldn't do anything for me. Fuck you.
Moving on to the next one, which was Sunday Night Football. Falcons at Commanders, and the Falcons went into this game knowing they had to match Tampa Bay's result in order to stay ahead in the NFC South, going up against the Washington team that needed to win to secure their spot in the wild card positions in the playoffs. And the Commanders did win this game with a big performance into overtime. They came into the fourth quarter 3 points down, but outscored the Falcons 10-7 and then scored the touchdown in overtime. Jaden Daniels had a really good day, 24 of 36, 227, 3 touchdowns and a pick. But he had 16 carries for 127 yards on the ground. And for 127 yards on the ground, his long was only 25, which means he was doing it often and consistently. Brian Robinson also was 13 for 60 on the ground, and Chris Rodriguez has 5 for 16 and a touchdown on the ground. So they actually had almost as many rushing yards as they had receiving yards. Incredible day. Zacchaeus had another really good day to add to those that he's had recently. 8 of 9 for 85 and a touchdown. And Zach Ertz, 6 of 7 for 72 and 2 touchdowns. For Atlanta, Penix had an up and down day, 19 of 35 for 223, a touchdown and a pick, but they did some really good work on the ground, 17 for 90 and 2 touchdowns for Bijan Robinson. And Drake London realised that he is a receiver after all, 7 of 13 for 106. And Kyle Pitts got a touchdown, 4 of 5 for 44 and a touchdown for him. But what really killed them was just not being able to get over the line, because they were 17-7 up in this game at the half, and then obviously were ahead going into the fourth quarter and just kind of fumbled the bag a bit. And I don't mean fumble literally, they had 3 fumbles but got all 3 back. Atlanta, have 5 sacks on the day, and when you have 5 sacks, when you're ahead in games, you need to close out, and it's a reason why I don't think this team are going to be going to the playoffs. And the Commanders, they're not as good. Well, battle of 2 bad defenses, but Daniels just has a bit of star quality to him, man. It's an exciting team. I don't think they're going to do bits in the playoffs, but like the Tampa Bay Bucks, no one's really going to want to face this team.
Yeah, because they can score on anyone. They showed like the Slim Reaper really put a number on the Falcons defense and helped me win at least one of my fantasy games this week, which was really nice. But yeah, they're just continuing to roll on offense after that kind of dip coming out their bye. They've bounced back. Zacchaeus kind of leading the charge there, and Jameson Crowder obviously scored the touchdown against that won them the game. That obviously we covered live. Great little brute from him. But offensively, yeah. Defensively, they need a bit of work. Dan Quinn will probably be able to put his stamp on there, but there's some good, some players step up for them. Obviously, Quan Martin getting the interception and another pass defense. Bobby Wagner just marched in the middle of that defense for them. They've got players there, and yeah, they might easily be one and done in the playoffs, but they're a kind of young team. They need to take that lump on the chin. But at the same time, again, they could easily outscore whoever they come up against in the wild card and shock whoever it is, be it, I don't know, another divisional matchup against the Eagles, or if they have to face the Rams, they could go toe with those offenses easily, very easily, and win it out. Kind of like we supposedly have to. As for the Falcons, yeah, just they lack a bit of edge, don't they? Like, they've got pieces. Jesse Bates had a really damn good day. Caden Ellis showing why he's one of the most underrated linebackers in the league, not called Blake Cashman. But it's just not enough, is it? Especially when you've got Mike Hughes as one of your best defenders on the day. That really shows, again, the standard, because you saw how we wanted to get Mike Hughes out of Dodge. Just Penix will have to take the lumps, kind of learn how to close out games, and next year maybe they can be a bit better.
Yeah. All right, that is going to do it for our show. We've reviewed every game on the slate. We're going to be back for the college football playoff review tomorrow, I believe, dependent on Ant. And of course, all of those games are in progress, including a comeback in progress by Oregon. It's now 34-15, although they've now gone to 4th down. They forced a punt, but they couldn't get anything going on that drive. Still 21 minutes to go, and they're 19 points down. Let's see if they can make that more interesting than it is. Otherwise, so that's tomorrow, college football podcast. Then the main pod back on Friday for the Minnesota Vikings preview. We will be live on Sunday Night Football doing the play-by-play for that. So if you're interested, I think we're better than the actual coverage. Come and listen to us call the game. Mute your TV. Let's see what we can do together. Otherwise, please follow us on our socials. We're all the Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And the Facebook group for worldwide fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK One Pride Worldwide. Preview articles from Ash on rotluk.com. Please do have a look at the website. We're going to be updating it soon, especially in the off-season with new bits and pieces. Just remains for me to thank Ash for doing this with me, and to everyone for listening. Lions a 14-win team. Who'd have thought it? Well, roll on 15. Let's go, Lions. One pride.
One pride and fuck the Vikings.
Recording stopped.